Welcome to Facecheck, Week 9, regular season, spring regular season in the books. We've got Dom, Loco, and myself to break it down for all of you at home. And we basically got a regular day of LCS. It was 3 days of LCS. Tiebreakers abound, heartbreak abound. Where do we want to start with this one? Team Liquid falling out, Immortals falling out, no one outworks Grayson, Gilmer, Golden, Glue, Gregory, Golden Guardians in there. Dignitas having an opportunity. 2.3 million failure. Where are we going with this one to start off, Loco?
I mean, let's start with the biggest story, Team Liquid. It has to start there.
All right. And right off the bat, Team Liquid had like zero reason to care about week 2 after dropping their easier game in week 1, but somehow by the grace of God and every single pundit that was like, yeah, Team Liquid's in until they're out, even until their last breath, they somehow make it to a tiebreaker possibility because every single game went the way it was supposed to go against Cloud9. And had Cloud9, in a typical Team Liquid Cloud9 game, it was a very good game, and their hopes and dreams were dashed and ended by a backdoor from Vulcan. Man, what can we say about this team from this week, and what can we then say to encapsulate their whole season?
We can talk about the game first. Oh my god, this was actually one of the better games that TL played, but C9 is just too fucking good. Like, they're way too fucking good at flanking. Like, one moment I was like, my god, C9 is so good, was right after TL won a lot of the fights and they got Baron and they're about to start pushing out. Like, Nifty gets this perfect teleport and he shows up behind double and the fight is unwinnable.
It was Licorice's TP with Renekton.
Yeah. Licorice shows up behind double and it's with the TP movement bonus speed. So he's on top of double as Renekton without using any of his dashes. So even if double had flash there, like, he wasn't going to live. Like, that fight made it where it was just, yeah, I think C9 is going to win this almost no matter what happens.
TL also didn't see the TP. Like, that TP was like desperation. The game was pretty much like should have been over at that point. But the only way that they lose, like, if you go to my coach room, like, I was like fucking screaming, like, all right, the only way they fucking lose is if they get TP flanked right now, because they have no TP on Aatrox. Aatrox TP'd for the last fight, which like got them Baron and all the kills. And as soon as I'm saying that, the TP comes in, and no one on TL even realized that the TP was there, because that Renekton can die in one shot at that point. When everyone has Baron like that, Elise Cocoon will be 100-0 on Renekton. If they just like Elise Cocoon and Bramble forwards, Elise Cocoon backwards, kill the Renekton, they can win that 5-4v5 in, but no one understood that they were getting flanked. And yeah, the Renekton just kills double lift, and suddenly it brings the game state like back to, I wouldn't say that it was even. I think C9 was still losing at that point, but it made it like, oh, we're not going to take an inhib on that. It's going to like a later dragon, all this type of thing, like all this type of stuff. So I think it was just like really bad communication on that specific flank, and like not being able to, like, because I think that they were like, maybe they might have been excited that they were winning or something. And like, the game just like snowballed. So like, it felt like they weren't like super like diligent about making sure that they called out all the potential ways that they could get fucked, because C9's the type of team where they're smart about like the game. Like, they take their best option and they play like in a way that makes sense. So if they have TP advantage and that's the only advantage they have, like, you have to respect it. And they just did it. And they lost. They didn't lose just because of that play, even though that swung the momentum. There was like so many fights where people misplayed. Like, there was one fight where Blabber got chased by Broxa, and Broxa was like 100% HP and tried to duel an Olaf that's like 400 HP with a death stance, and he ended up getting killed. They lose that fight. There was a fight where Double F failed his flash. There was another fight.
One over the wall. He was going to die anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but if he flashes better there, then there's a chance that the fight goes better.
Someone has to chase him down with flash, yeah.
Yeah, somebody has to flash over the wall, at least for him. There's that fight. And then Jensen's items were really bad that game. The Warmogs was absolutely useless. There was never a point where they got a fight, disengaged, and the Warmogs healed Jensen to full HP. That didn't happen once.
People are talking about getting Locket instead, because Locket scales really nicely on Ornn because you have so much fucking HP, and then it's versus Rumble, and it's one of the best items to get versus Rumble too.
Yeah, it's great versus Rumble. You can go Locket, you can go Stoneplate. Like, that's like normally a quintessential Ornn item in that type of game. Like, if you get both, like, it increases your shield by so much. So Yeah, that's definitely the play there. So there was a lot of issues with how TL closed out that game. But I think that the one thing that was so surprising was it was like, why did it take till this moment for TL to actually like play like they had nothing to lose, you know? Like they're like, oh well, fuck it, like we're probably gonna get eliminated anyway. Might as well like try some shit. Brox actually tried to gank, you know, like he missed this fucking cocoon.
Oh my god,
it was such a bad cocoon. It was disgusting. But I even though he played it terribly, the fact that he at least went for it was better than the alternative, dude. I'd rather have you go for plays and like fuck them up consistently than just do that like AFK farm bullshit and slowly lose the game. Especially when you play like things like Elise, because there was an Elise game earlier this split where he just AFK farmed and just slowly lost. Like I'm just never down with that type of stuff.
There were two miracle like situations for C9. One was Broxa missing his cocoon where it should have 100% hit and Niski dies. And there was like a second one where Niski CC'd and then Jensen misses the Ornn headbutt on the wall.
Yep, there was two in a row.
He literally missed the Ornn headbutt like on the wall that's standing still, and Niski just lives. I was talking about it in NA, but like NA, we're trying to just defeat the map over here. Like we don't even have to play against other players. It's just like if you watch Renegades versus Dignitas season 6, we struggle with Rift Herald, we struggle with turrets, we struggle hitting the walls. Like the map itself is better than most NA players currently in the state of NALCS. So that is like a huge thing that hopefully we can improve on for Summer Split. And that is definitely true. I do want to get back to that, but I really do want to commend Broxa on what he was doing early game. There was also a gank that he did top lane that was really fucking good. It's when they have level 6. The Licorice doesn't have level 6 yet. He doesn't have flash. There's like a really, really small window where he can come back and get the gank off. And he actually came back and got the dive off. And I was like, damn, this is like Fnatic Broxa. This is like someone that actually understands how to play jungle and understands how to play Elise. And going back to what Dom said regarding like NA not knowing like how to play against the map or just like failing with the basics, I think that's 100% true. And it drives me insane when people talk about, oh, why don't they flex this pick? Or why don't they pick this champion here? I'm like, dude, it's fucking NA. They can barely play like the meta champions. Like, why the fuck are you asking for this? Like, it's not like the coaches are stupid. It's it's just like the team isn't there. The players aren't there. Like, don't ask us to play stuff that's like level 3 when we're struggling with level 1.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, so far in this breakdown, we go immediately to the flank at 38 minutes. And most of the time when you guys talk about a game, you talk about draft. And you haven't talked about draft at all. Did you feel okay with the way that things turned out for Team Liquid against Cloud9 in this?
It's just crazy that, like, Team Liquid, obviously Ashe is fine in that game. Like, it's not a bad Ashe game.
They didn't play Aphelios.
But how is it not an Aphelios?
Yeah.
Every other team in the world is like, you gave us first pick Aphelios for free? We're taking Aphelios. Like, this champion is fucking busted because it can do everything. And like the teams that ended up qualifying for playoffs, like
everyone played Aphelios. Yeah.
Everyone fucking loves Aphelios. Think about all the fucking, like, if you look at like the teams that were picking up wins, Johnson, good Aphelios player. Cody Sun, good Aphelios player. You have fucking Bang. Bang is a huge Aphelios player. FBI, good Aphelios player. Like, everyone plays Aphelios, but it's so weird to just pass that pick, I feel like. Like, that is just something that is considered one of the strongest. Like, it's a fucking meme. Every time Aphelios is in a game, people just meme about 200 years because they're like, how the fuck does this champion end up in the game? If you've had 200 years of gameplay experience, how can you let a champion exist that actually does everything as an AD carry? Like, it's the best AD carry close range with the red gun and the white gun shotgun.
Severum shotgun.
Yeah. Severum Shotgun, you're the best, and that's also good that's insane at killing Baron, so you're the best objective doing AD carry as well. You have the longest range if you use like the sniper combined with like your ulti, etc. You have the best team fighting with the flamethrower as well, Infernum. So it's like you have all these tools in your kit. It's just such a broken champion, and you compare that to like fucking Ashe, bro. Like, how are you gonna compare these champions? They look like they're from different fucking games. That's like comparing like Shaco to like fucking Olaf or some shit, where it's like these champions, how do they exist in the same fucking game? Like, one of them can just kill the other one when they're like 100 life. I don't know. It just seems so weird to me that they just don't pick Aphelios.
I already had like a huge rant on Aphelios, so I won't double down on the rant, but it's just I think one of the biggest design problems is with the ultimate, because the ultimate is always the same range no matter what gun you have. So it's so fucking broken. Like Gravitum having that kind of range on the ultimate, which allows you to engage from like a million miles away, is so fucking crazy.
And you just look at good Aphelios players, and it's just like you can't believe that some of these angles are kills. Like the Johnson Aphelios versus IMT, where he just gets like some random ass kill mid, where it's like, what the fuck? He's flashing in. Okay, I guess that's a kill. Like 1K range, he's just randomly lining that up. There was the play from Cody's son that stuck out to me a lot this weekend, where he had the Gravitum and Infernum bot lane at like level like 4, and he just chased like 3 people down and killed them all. Like he's just I'm telling you, that champion is just way too
really good on Cody's part, where they turned the
he played it
right.
excellent.
Yeah, where you switch between Infernum and Gravitum. That's actually the best gank turning tool.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was really impressed with Cody's son in general. I mean, when you look at 100 Thieves, right, a team that's in third place, the only reason they're in third place, like, it's not because of Ryoma. Meteos has had it's Cody and Someday. Like, Someday is probably the best top laner right now. He's just playing so fucking well.
All right, and getting back into Team Liquid a little bit. Oh my god! And also the draft. I wanted to ask you how you felt about the Olaf. I hated the Olaf pick.
I think the Olaf is fine. I think the Olaf is fine because it just shits on Elise so hard, and I think it's good into Ashe. It's good into Ashe. It's like it ignores everything from Orin, and it's good into Elise. So I don't hate the pick. I think that this is like the time, if you're gonna pick Olaf, this is the time for it. So it's okay to me.
I really didn't like the pick, and I think the pick only worked because C9 is such a better team, and also Olaf got funneled gold. There were like times where Olaf was split pushing instead of Licorice, especially in the early game, where they were taking the fight bot side and Blabber stayed top to push it all the way and get the Herald in. And also, if you look at the late game CS situation, Niski wasn't picking up side waves. It was actually Blabber picking up side waves. So as Olaf, you can never fall behind, and it's so important you hit your items on time. And to do that, you either are really ahead, and if you're not ahead, you take farm away from other people, which Blabber ended up doing. So I think it was just C9 propped up the pick so much, and it barely ended up working out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's because other people were playing like poorly. I think that was one of like Sven's worst games this split. Like, you normally like just don't see Sven games where he's like, getting caught and dying, or just in general, like Licorice was behind on Renekton, and Renekton Olaf is just not a scary combo. I think the Olaf pick is good, but you just have to play like differently with it. You have to play like you have and Olaf. Like, I like normally seeing Olaf with things that so when LPL, I think, is the region that likes Olaf the most. They always prioritize Olaf, or like a lot of the junglers there really prioritize Olaf, and they do it in ways where like they use the fact that Olaf is the strongest early game jungler in the game, and then they use that to offset champions that have really weak early games. So they'll play it with things like Kassadin, for example, where they give Kassadin like a decent matchup mid, like Kassadin versus Zir, Kassadin versus LeBlanc. Like, obviously Kassadin's not going to like hard shit on many lanes until later, but they'll pair that with something like an Olaf, and they'll just use the Olaf to like run the early game, and then like another pick will just take over late game. I think that Olaf is just a champion that spikes super hard the earliest and falls off like the hardest out of all junglers. So obviously in a game where C9 makes mistakes, the Olaf is not going to be able to do that much later on.
To me, this game felt like Team Liquid was ahead, right? Team Liquid was up, and then they get big time flanked multiple times. I feel like they fought those later game fights out like a team that really wanted to win. It just felt like they saw the victory in front of their eyes, and that's why they weren't thinking about what could be causing them to lose, rather than how can we win, if that makes sense. And
I just feel like they're not used to winning. Like, they just don't remember what it's like to fucking execute, like, play. Like, it seems like teams that are more accustomed to winning are better at just like covering all their bases. Like, all right, what do we fucking need to do here to win? Like, what do we have to sacrifice? Like, how do we like find ways to turn this game into our advantage? Just felt like that just isn't something that they were completely conscious of. Like, obviously that's something that needs practice. Like, if you're losing every fucking game, it's hard to like understand like how to close games out. And because of that, like they're playing against a team that is the best at coming back from being behind. So
And one of the best at snowballing too.
yeah, like they're playing against the best team. So if you're not solid at closing out versus the best team, it's gonna be rough.
Also, did you guys see Double is complaining on stream about, yeah, I'm not the primary shot caller anymore. I'm not allowed to be the primary shot caller anymore. We have to be more diplomatic now. I mean, I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure like Double is not pulling it out of his ass, but don't talk about it on stream when like your team is going through so much problems. Like
I don't even know. I don't even know what
Peter's
to
just
think about
so
that.
important to the league and so important to TL. Like he just lives in a different reality. I feel like if other players spoke like that, like they'd be in fucking trouble. If other players spoke the way Double F did in the earlier part of the season, the way he's speaking now, like they'd be reprimanded. But Double just accomplished so much, and he's so crucial to Team Liquid, and he has so much value as a player and so much options. He gets away with pretty much anything.
Why would they be reprimanded? Like just break it down for us. Why would someone speaking out like that? Why is that bad?
Talking about how your team is struggling internally, like things like you're allowed to do, you're not allowed to do. It's kind of like just keep it in the locker room, especially when your team is like going through problems. It's really important to keep everything like radio silent and figure it out inside before like you speak up about it. I'm not saying it's wrong that he's talking about a problem, but it's the wrong format, like on a stream, and the wrong timing. So like if he spoke up about this like after the season ended, like if he talked about it today, right? Everything's ended and he talked about a lot of the problems Team Liquid had, it'd be different. But during like the season going on and like right before they're about to or not about to make playoffs, I think is completely the wrong timing.
Well, I think it's also just like the type of thing where it's just shits on the rest of his team and puts himself up. It's like the connotation there is like what he's really saying is he's like, yeah, you know what? Like if I was the primary shot caller again, you know, our team would be doing a lot better, but I'm not allowed to be. And we have like these other assholes on the team shot calling. So yeah, like that's why we're fucking losing.
That's what I wanted to get at. Yeah.
That's the fucking connotation.
Daniel doesn't want to flame, so he has some hostility.
I'll fucking flame it. Fuck it. Who cares? That's what it is. So that's like why you're not supposed to do it, because it's shitting on the rest of your team.
So I think just this Team Liquid roster in general, now taking a step back from this weekend, and you know, we only talked about the Cloud9 game, we didn't talk about the game beforehand, but taking a look at this roster in general and this Team Liquid year in general, how does it, I think it kind of shapes the way that we look at Team Liquid and also the way that we look at teams in general, because everyone was on the whole I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when Team Liquid fails. I'll believe it when Brox is here. I'll believe it once they don't make it. You know, we got all the way to week 9, and this Team Liquid was basically what they were the whole season. It was a broken bunch of pieces when they took out Xmithy or whatever they changed. It might not just be Xmithy, but Xmithy was the big roster move, and then never got it back together, whether it was Schernfire or whether it was Broxa or whoever was shot calling. How do we feel like we encapsulate this spring season for them? And then later on, how do we figure out how they're going to do next season?
I mean, this season's like an absolute failure, right? There is like a really big question mark regarding what would have happened if Broxa was here from day one. But I think even in that world, they still would have struggled. They definitely probably make playoffs, but how else do you look at this season other than like absolute catastrophic failure? I was doing like a grading scale on stream about how all the LCS teams did. A is like you maxed out your expectations. B is you did better than your expectations. C is you got what you expected. D is you did worse than the expectations. F is like bottom tier performance. TL gets an F.
Yeah, this is like the worst it could have went. Like you literally got 9th place. Like it's not like people are like, oh well, maybe if you won that game, like people. It's not like if they won that game, they fucking were guaranteed playoffs. If they won that game, they get thrown into the fucking 4-man gauntlet with what would have been a 4-man gauntlet with Golden Guardians, Dignitas, and Immortals. So that was there to win that game. It puts them in like the 6th to 9th. Like then there's still like an active 6th to 9th. They finished fucking 9th. Like this is the worst that I feel like this team could have fucking done. Like I don't know if there's a way that they could have somehow performed even worse than CLG.
CLG was just doing so fucking bad.
Yeah, like I think that Wiggly power inted so hard this split, it was just on another level. Like it's not even achievable even by like trying to be bad. So I think that at this point, like this is considered the worst Team Liquid could have done. And I think the craziest thing is, you know, up until this last game that they played, they had no heart as a team. Like these players like played poorly individually, and it just felt like they were so okay losing, which was so like weird. You know, like obviously people talk about champion fatigue, and it's hard to stay on top all the time. But you'd want to see like some fire out of the team, you know? Like it wasn't like the type of thing where it just looked tragic, where it's like, oh, they're trying their best, but they just like can't pull through. It was just like they just sacked fucking everything. They just played bad drafts. They just fucking played bad in the early game. They just were so okay just losing every fucking game. It was so weird to me.
I mean, TL's been infamous for not caring about regular season, and veterans in NA in general just really don't care about regular season because it's so mundane, and playoffs is pretty much the only thing that matters. But this was like new levels of not caring.
I don't know. I never felt like any. I felt like some people like cared like a little bit less, but I never felt like people really didn't care. Like,
I think there's always been people that really didn't care. I think like player behavior.
I mean, I hope that some players don't care at this point. Like, I hope that Huni is actually just not trying at all, and that's like, and he's still worth the money, and it's like he'll be good when it matters, and he just didn't give a fuck at all. You know, because the alternative is that you have a player that's literally getting paid 12 times what your best player on Dignitas, in my mind, which is Johnson. I mean, maybe you can make an argument for Acadian. When he came in, he performed the best on Dig, but you're literally getting paid 12 times what your fucking 80 carry is getting fucking paid. And you're running it down like 0-7 in like important matches. And they somehow won that game versus Immortals, so they end up, you know, having a chance to play in playoffs. I mean, obviously they got the final game versus Golden Guardians. They got the final tiebreak, but it's like, how is this acceptable at all? Like, you're really that valuable? Like, I don't know.
Let me phrase it a little bit differently. Daniel, you watched a lot of NBA, right?
Yeah.
How much do you think players care about like regular season?
They don't want to get hurt during the regular season. Yeah, not too much.
I like when I hear like NBA stories, like people like going to strip clubs like the day before or like the day after and like just like fucking partying in clubs and stuff. I'm like, okay, they really don't fucking give a shit. I don't think LCS is at that level, but we're like, I mean, just it seems like people don't care. Like from their behavior, from their gameplay, from like the amount of the effort shown, I think people just don't care about regular season.
So just for the sports analogy and just esports analogy, right? I think there's a physical limit on how much you can practice, right? Just to, you know, this is common knowledge if you are a hardcore esports fan. There's a physical limit on how much you can practice traditional sports compared to esports. But even then, I was surprised what the norm is for scrims. Like, and you guys have lived it. So like 6 scrims a day, and then VOD review and then solo queue afterwards. It's like a 10 to 12 hour day on a regular day. That doesn't include, 3 a days. Was it triple block? Triple block. Yeah. So for me, that seems like a lot of attention already, but we always tend to praise the guys that do put in the more games and have picked up the new champions, Aphelios, and things of that nature, but it pays off. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah, League of Legends is so fucked where there isn't like a cap to how much you can practice. It's like you can practice like forever. And like sometimes it's like weaponizing, I don't want to say the A word, but it's like weaponizing people's lack of interest and people not being fully developed, where I feel like if you're younger, it's very normal to play video games for 14, 16 hours a day. And you can weaponize that in esports, like just have the player play 14, 16 hours a day. It's hard to ask people that are like in their mid-20s, late 20s to do the same. But like people in their early 20s are like people that are 19, 18. So players like Johnson, I'm sure he has pretty much nothing in his life but League of Legends and sleeping.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's the player that fucking grinds. He just loves League. Even like when he's like chilling with his friends, right? Like he'll be in like Discord servers, like streaming his games to like other pro players, like like private streaming in Discord with like other pro players just talking about the game, like, just explaining like how like he sees lane fate. Like he's just somebody that eats, sleeps, and breathes League of Legends, so I think that's the reason why he performed so well. I think it's definitely like an overperformance from him, this split. And Dig's the type of team where you just really have to look at everything else. Like you're not getting what you want out of your veterans on that team. That is a huge fucking problem. Like you just didn't get what you want. Like Huni, Froggen, and Afro, like you're getting like 3 players that you have to say each of them played like bottom 4, bottom 3 in their role.
Are we done on TL? I'm down to move on to a different team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's take a look at the grading scale that Loco had. Oh, who got an A? That would be Cloud9. Cloud9 making history, joining the two teams from 2016, Immortals and TSM, as the only other teams going 17-1. Historically good, even against the best shots that the teams have taken at them. They always found a way to win. This is basically, we imagine that they're the number one team. They're going to go and win the spring split playoffs. But I want to talk about what their record and their consistency means and what this legacy is for this Cloud9 roster.
It means this was Corona, like, just fuck Cloud9 upside down. Oh my god, this split will always have like a little asterisk next to it. Like, oh, it was like the online final streak, the online final split. It was a split where like people really didn't care and like people voted to cancel, and Cloud9 was like the only team tryharding. Like, there's just gonna be so much bullshit narratives around this split, and I think C9 is putting up like historical performances. Like, we have Immortals and TSM up there as like the other teams that went 17-1, but I think like this C9, what they did is really fucking special because. They did it. They're winning in ways that's viable internationally. I feel like there's very few times in NA where teams are winning where I feel like, oh, this team's going to be so fucking good internationally. Like, I look at 100 Thieves and some of the stuff they're doing. I'm like, man, they look dominant in NA. But if they play like this versus European or LPL teams, like, they're going to get fucking smacked upside down. Where I feel like this C9 is just, they're proactive. They play multiple angles. They play so many different champions in the meta. They went through all three lanes. So yeah, I think they're putting up amazing performances, and it's so fucking sad that it's happening at this time.
Yeah, no, I think they're really good. I think that part of the reason I don't know if the asterisk is going to be because of the fact that it's like an online like split, or it's just the fact that like this is probably one of the worst splits that NA's ever had in terms of like competition. Like, this has been one of the splits where like every other split there was like 2 to 3 teams that were good. There was there was a echelon of good teams, and then there was like middle of the pack and then bad teams. But this split, it's been like Cloud9, and then everyone else has just looked like shit for most of the split, besides for maybe EG now. But EG is like still a team that started like 2-5, 2-4, some shit like that. Like, they were losing a ridiculous amount of games early. They were pretty bad. They had like a Sona Tom Kench game. It was like, what the fuck is going on with this team? There's just not like good teams in NA right now. The fact that the level of the competition is so low, I think, is what devalues them as a team. Because like, yeah, it's like, sure, if you win this doesn't even mean you're good if you're the number one team in NA. Like, every player you talk to will say that the level of competition is way lower this split than any other split in NA history. So, yeah, there's just not good teams for them to like play against. It's not like they're getting challenged by anyone right now. Like, you saw what they did to EG, right? EG, that's the second best team in the league.
Yeah,
that was the second best team in the league, and they're making mistakes like that. Like, EG's fucking fighting early game with a Kayle mid. Like, they're fighting a level 3 fight with a Kayle mid. Like, these teams are just not performing.
Oh yeah, that draft was so fucking weird. Like, Kayle Kai'Sa, I'm like, what is this? 2019 Worlds? Like, I guess we also had Quinn Cleanse into Renekton, so it did seem like 2019 Worlds.
I think it's fine. I think it can make sense, right?
It's not fine for EG. That was your point. Like, putting Zizuke on Kayle, where Zizuke has been like such a big kind of like a starting point for them, like him on Rise versus Victor in the Immortals game, like he's getting so much shit done. I just don't think the team functions as well when Zizuke isn't on a proactive champion. And yeah, he was just going to be shoved in and like waiting till at the very least level 11. And then they also have a Kai'Sa, so they have to wait for bomb items on Kai'Sa too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not their most ideal draft, but I don't think it was like a terrible draft. It's not like unplayable, and I think Jizuke can play things that are not like the best early game as well. Like, I think he looked like fine on like the Malzahar, for example, and Malzahar is not like a super.
But it's just not a great look for EG. I feel much more confident on like the Rise, the Echo, the LeBlanc with Svenskeren playing like Lee Pantheon. That's my flavor of EG that I like the best, and that I personally think they have shown the best performance on.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like the thing that they've seen the most success with, but I feel like if they're gonna beat Cloud9, that's just never gonna work, because yeah, it's like, okay, so you're trying to outperform early mid 2v2 against Niski Blabber. I mean, good luck. Maybe you can do it, but I think that having like a specific like team comp is not bad. Like, I think the Kayle Kai'Sa is still like a valuable pick. I mean, we saw like one fight at the end of the game where they were down like 10k gold and they still almost won the fight. So there's definitely power there.
If on C9, like how would you rate importance of the players?
Importance of the players?
Yeah.
I'd say Blabber's just been like the most important to me. Seems like he's just being able to like facilitate everyone. Blabber, I think it would be like,
Niski.
I would say it'd be
won.
Blabber, then Niski, then Vulcan, then Sven, then Licorice.
I think Niski does so much for Blabber. There's just like so many times where I look at the game, I'm like, you roamed here, like you gave up this wave to go fight in jungle. I'm like, my God, like there's so few mid laners that would actually do that, especially in NA. Like in NA, like holy shit, mid laners go crazy when they miss the wave. Mid laners go crazy when the jungler doesn't freeze for them. Where, yeah, I think like Blabber is good, but he's benefiting so much from Niski.
I feel like it can be said like the other way around. Like I think that there's definitely mid laners that want to like be able to leave lane and want to be able to roam. Like there's ones that don't and there's ones that do. But I think that Blabber being able to like even go for those plays, like creating that option for the mid laner, I think is like really, really valuable. And just in general, I think that he's been super good about just being super proactive throughout all the games. Like it always feels like Blabber is doing something in the game. Like it never feels like he's just like AFK farming. Whereas like most of the other junglers, they have moments where they just AFK farm endlessly.
I think Blabber's going to stay on C9 for a long time. I'm sure his contract is very team friendly. Like,
It always is.
Yeah, always is. The moment where it's not team friendly, I'm sure that's where he gets released. But I would really like to see like how he would do on a different team, like next year, like just next year, like see him on a different team, because C9 talked about it in their videos how much they do for Blabber in terms of like other people also making sure like he's not going in at the wrong times, that he's not being so much of a coin flip player. And I really think he benefits a lot from Niski. And I mean, we're just not going to see proof of it until he plays for a different team. But yeah, I think Niski is like so important for this team as an engine, like allowing Blabber to be successful, allowing all the dives to happen. The shot calling he does, from what I hear, he's the primary shot caller. He does all the summoners. So yeah, for me, it's easily Niski like the most valuable player on this team.
Yeah, and it just feels like you can at least take a coin flip with another North American jungler. You really can't cheap out at that mid lane, and to have the cream of the crop of the mid laners is, I think that's just too valuable right now. So yeah, is there anyone here that isn't number one in their position?
Maybe Licorice.
Someday.
I would say Someday is probably playing better than Licorice right now. I feel like Licorice has had like a pretty like Licorice has been good at like team fighting and flanking and stuff like that.
Really
but in
good.
lane, he's just not been close as good as Someday. Like I think Someday has just been straight up like taking over. Like almost any lane you give him, he's just winning regardless. You know, like
I think Someday really did turn it up. But one thing I want to say in defense of Licorice is he's always playing weak side and he's always forced to make sacrifices, and he does it like, and he makes it look easy. I think there's a lot of times if there's a different top laner in position of Licorice, like that top laner is getting blown out. We like to think of Licorice as like the carry player, but he's doing what Impact did a lot of times on Team Liquid right now, where you get no resource, you're still doing all your teleports, you're still very effective in team fights. They're effective in different ways, where Impact played tank really well and he engaged really well, where Licorice is one of the best flankers in North America right now, and one of the primary reasons why C9's always looking good in team fights. So I can agree on Someday looks better, and maybe is better right now, but they play such different roles, so a little bit unfair in terms of like Licorice's part.
well, I don't think that Someday is getting like a lot of like, you know, attention really. Like obviously Meteos does visit his lane, but I don't think that Meteos is like, there's times where Meteos visits his lane and just does nothing as well. So I think that like Someday is better at building his solo advantages. Like he's just better at just beating the other top laner throughout the game.
He isn't getting like so much help where he's just being camped for 24/7, but he is getting more, and also in terms of picks too.
I mean, I think that maybe, I mean, I feel like Someday Someday gets counterpicked a fuck ton. Like 100 Thieves is the type of team where they just give Someday Aatrox into literally anything.
Yeah.
Aatrox into Camille, he'll shit on the Camille. They'll give him Aatrox into GP, he'll shit on the GP. Like every pick that is supposed to be a counterpick to Someday's Aatrox just isn't a counterpick, right? The best we've seen is obviously Ruin's Camille, but last time we saw a Camille versus him was Soaz's Camille, and he killed him 3 times in lane.
Yeah.
3 solo kills in a lane that's a hard counter. So
That's just been a problem in North America though, where Set and Aatrox have been uncounterable.
yeah, but I mean, I think that's just like why Someday is so valuable. Is like he gets counterpicked and then he wins the lane 1v1 every single game. Whereas like I see Licorice still make like laning mistakes. Like you can tell that Licorice is not playing as well in lane as he used to. Like he's making errors that cause him to like have to TP to his lane early, or he takes like bad trades sometimes. And he performs later on. It's not like he lets it take him out of the game, but it's just not the same level of like competence and like I guess dominance that we saw in like 2018 from Licorice.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Last question for Cloud9. If they do not win the championship and join Immortals,
Oh my god.
how much does that taint their grade? Say they got the perfect day. Do they have to win out to get the A? What if they falter in finals?
Of course, like if you don't win, then it doesn't fucking matter. It really does not fucking matter. Like they can be dominant all the way through, and they lose to some like lower bracket team. Oh my god, the injustice is if they lose to TSM. Holy shit! If they lost to TSM this split, but yeah, if they don't win, it means like
I
absolutely
think
fucking
TSM is the
nothing.
team that has like the best chance to beat them, to be honest.
Becomes
like-
a meme team. Like what is it? The EG coaches in our chat, like he mentioned Immortals 2016. Like we meme Immortals 2016. Like we don't talk about them as a great team. We talk about them as like just tilt them, like triple Lucian top lane. Like you become a meme. Like they're gonna be talked about as like, oh, remember that time where they went 17-1 and they couldn't win even with Team Liquid not in playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that they have to win at this point. Like, and also like at least it was so like when Immortals was super dominant, at least it felt like there was more competition in the league. Like there was just teams that were good, right? Like COG was defending champions, and they still look like a solid team. It was like, oh shit, like this team functions well together. They have like some advantage. Like it felt like there's a way that they could win. Whereas like you look at NA now and it just feels like other teams like can't win. Like you think about EG and it's like, how does EG actually beat Cloud9? Do they just play mid 2v2?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think that they have I don't think that I would not take Svenskar and Jizuke over the course of the split over Niski and Blabber. I don't think that they performed better. So like that's not even an advantage to me.
That's just what they have to look for though. But yeah, C9 does look unbeatable. We'll see in playoffs.
Well, because the way I looked at Immortals, right, 2016, it was like the Huni and Rainover show.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much like how they were getting their wins. But they did have like it was like, oh shit, like how good is this like,
Turtle Adrian.
Turtle Adrian bot lane. It's like, oh well, he only plays enchanters. Like they didn't look the same. It wasn't like as dominant to me because it feels like all of C9 can play everything. They can play all the good champions. They don't have like a defined style that might be counterable. It just feels like they can play everything.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that they don't play was Xayah Rakan, and it actually showed in the TSM game. But luckily for them, like Varus picked up so much in priority where I felt like Xayah Rakan was like maybe number 2, number 3 behind Senna Aphelios. Now Xayah Rakan is like number 4, number 5. You don't even need to touch it. There's just so many 80 support duos before you even get to that.
Yeah, I mean, you can also like a lot of other teams, like in Korea, etc. They'll just go for it. Like so, Kallista's raised in priority a lot.
Yeah,
because Kallista's like a flex for good teams, and Licorice has played a game with Kallista top. So if C9 can flex Kallista, that would be really good. Obviously, OG Niels was like the original Kallista player.
Yeah.
He was just like fucking popping off on that. Then like MF is still up there as well. Ezreal is still a pick. We've seen Sven on. Like, you don't need to play Xayah Rakan right now. It doesn't feel like a must play.
Yeah.
The last time Cloud9 won was back in 2014 spring with the original 5 members: Balls, Meteos, High, Sneaky, and Lemon. Only Meteos still the only one vying for the championship, and his team ends up in 3rd with 100 Thieves, and they have to play Cloud9. So, Loco, we were talking before the show started. You said, how big was that loss in the tiebreaker against EG to not get that number 2 seed and then get the disrespect pick from Cloud9 saying, hey, we know you're the 3rd seed, not the 4th seed, but we decided to pick you anyways because it'll be easy for us to win.
I'll be nice. I'm going to keep the person anonymous, but someone from 100 Thieves messaged me yesterday. It was like an emo message at like a weird ass time. He's like, damn, why, Loco, why? I was like, damn, are you okay? Or like, what's going on? He's like, why did C9 pick us? Oh my god.
You know why. You know what the answer is.
I actually don't know why. They look way better than FlyQuest.
Yes. They look way better than FlyQuest right now, but would you not consider like it just takes a playoff series, the adjustment period for Power of Evil to really lock in? Like I feel like I'm more afraid of Power of Evil than I am of someday Meteos.
I think 100 Thieves is super exploitable. Like that's like the thing about 100 Thieves is like 100 Thieves still has one of the worst mid laners in the league and one of the worst performing junglers in the league. And I think that if you're a team like C9 that is really good about blowing games open with like that, we keep on saying their best two players are Blabber and Niski. So it's like you give them the opportunity to snowball games. It must be so much easier to play against a team like 100 Thieves because you can just take over mid jungle and then just like go to the side lanes from there, and it should just be a free game.
It is probably like a matchup thing, but it is still weird to pick the team that's just like demolished the other team that you didn't pick. Poor 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was also like draft played into that. I think FlyQuest got heavily outdrafted that game as well. So,
talking about 100 Thieves as a whole, they figured out their identity where they're kind of like EG, not in terms of play style, but they know who they are as a team. We are not an early game team. We are a team fighting team. We live and die by Cody and Someday, and they're just maximizing Cody and Someday. Where I think EG is maximizing Bang, Spenskaren, and Zizuke and really allowing them to play to their strengths. Like the same thing for 100 Thieves. They're giving Someday these kind of uncounterable picks that he's always going to do well on, like Set, Aatrox. Even when he's on Ornn, I feel like he always does well. It doesn't matter if he's into a bad matchup. And just really letting Cody shine in team fights. I think they are one of the better team fighting teams. And yeah, that's just what they do.
Yeah.
The thing that really like kind of clicked for me was when they blinded Trundle. I was like, this is fucking terrible versus better teams. They would just pick early game junglers and run you over. Why the fuck are you picking Trundle here? A lot of times, like Trundle does really weird things for the draft for the team that picks it. It protects your tank line a lot. Like they did it when Someday was on Ornn. By you taking Trundle, the enemy team can't take Trundle, and the Ornn remains like a giga tank. And also late game Trundle's one of the best tanks. He's one of the best anti-tanks. Like Pillar's fucking amazing late game. It's just a scaling jungle pick, and that's kind of what they like set their identity to. We're a scaling team. We win later on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that's what like that. I feel like that's so comfortable to play against. You know, if you're a team that's good at all stages, I feel like you'd rather play against a team that has potentially no early game. Like when you look at FlyQuest, like they have things that could be scary, right? Like Ignar is like a weird fucking player. Mm-hmm. He can really like take over games. He can win games alone with like crazy flanks, like lots of roams, things like that. And I just like if you look at the 100 Thieves games versus C9, and then you look at the FlyQuest games versus C9, it feels like from their experience the split, they had a much harder time beating FlyQuest. I mean, they still beat them pretty handedly, but the games were much closer versus FlyQuest than they were versus 100 Thieves. And they probably just think 100 Thieves is some like dog shit Pisslow team. So they'd rather just play into them. They're just like, yeah, this team just fucking sucks. Like, I bet you that, you know, I mean, Niski is always super mannered. Like when I talk to him, you know, he doesn't shit talk anyone, but I bet you he thinks Ryoma is a fucking dog. I bet you he thinks that he could just shit on this kid any day of the week.
Niski's hidden ego. When I talk to
his insane ego.
He's insane like ego. Hidden ego. Yeah. He does a really good job publicly. But
yeah, no, he does. But of course he should have ego, right? Like because he is he's the best mid laner by far the split. So he should have an ego. But I just think like my point is that when he plays into Ryoma, there's no way that he feels threatened or he feels like, oh shit, like this guy might take me out.
Also, I remember one other thing. FlyQuest does the best versus C9 in scrims from what I heard.
Yeah,
FlyQuest is like a really good scrim team, and they do specifically well versus C9.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who's a tangent here because you got talking on egos and stuff. Who had the biggest ego that didn't put
Piglet.
That persona off?
Oh,
that didn't put that persona off.
Oh yeah, Piglet was really humble, like giga ego that didn't like show it.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. I am pretty much everyone like that's like a nice player in LCS, like has an ego. They just like hide it perfectly well. I'm trying to think.
Not everyone does that perfectly well. Like, okay,
No,
so
I would say-
anyone you think is humble is actually not humble.
I would say Bjergsen like was like he was somebody who was always really like, you know, he never like shit talked other players, never like tweeted out anything. But I think he thought he was just like fucking monster, which he was.
Which he
Bjergsen, one thing Bjergsen is like really good about is like being controlled. Like Bjergsen has like the same kind of negative thoughts about like other people or like when people shit talk them. Bjergsen just doesn't publicly like strike back ever.
Yeah. Like he doesn't just go on stream and he's just like, yeah, you know, like I wish I could be the shot caller, but you know, I'm just not allowed to. Like he doesn't do shit like that. That's actually what it is.
Actually, that's a great example. Consider all the times like Bjergsen has been playing extremely well. Like he was like 1v5 and he just has not publicly shit talked his teammates about it.
Yeah.
Bjergsen is never the one to do that. Even when like the entire team is falling apart, he is never shit talking.
I just imagine like that's just the difference. And you know what's so fucking crazy is when you shit on your teammates less, the community doesn't respect you more. They respect you less. So like if Doublelift, for example,
shit talking Piglet and Phoenix.
No. My point is the more you shit. Yeah, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying the more that you shit talk your teammates, the more the community believes that your teammates are shit and you're the one that's right. So
really,
yes, I believe that 100%. Like if Doublelift was in the situation, right? Like let's say game 5, like you reverse the roles, right? He's on TSM and somebody like Jensen fucking ints the game instead of Sven inting the game for TSM. Jensen into the game, and then like, do you think that Doublelift would just like let that happen and just like ignore it? He'd be like, "Oh yeah, we should have won the finals, but like, you know, Jensen inted and we lost." Like he would say some shit like that, which is accurate. Like that's what happened. Bjergsen didn't say anything about that. I was like, yeah, we had like we should have won like other situations. Like Doublelift's so ready to like shit on the rest of his team. Like at the drop of the hat, he'd like throw you the fuck under the bus. Like fuck my team, right? That's his mentality. Where Bjergsen's mentality is like.
Bjergsen is
like, you know,
classy. Bjergsen is
he's way more classy. But because of that, people shit on Bjergsen way harder because they don't.
These are like randoms, right? Like,
well, yeah, no, I'm talking about like the overall perception of the community.
Yeah, right.
Like just like the overall perception of people that watch it. Like no one talks about like how good Bjergsen was in TSM in spring of 2019 and how like they should have won the championship. No one talks about that. Like people talk about Svensson and then they're like, oh, but Bjergsen wasn't even that good anyway. Like people just still shit on Bjergsen all the time because of that like humbleness. One thing I've learned about the League community is the more that you publicly shit on your teammates within reason, like as long as you're not like hard inting like Forgiven and then you're just like going psychopath mode on Twitter, as long as it's like within reason, like it looks like you're playing well, it's like better to shit on your teammates in the eyes of the community. Like they'll respect you more for having that type of mindset. Like it happens so many times with Dardoch, for example, where it's like if he just goes out and he just shit talks everyone, like people are like, oh, he must be really good then. You know, like people just accept it.
I agree. I kind of agree with what Dom says, only if you're able to survive, right? If you shit talk and then get benched and no one wants to pick you up, yes. But then it doesn't matter. But if you shit talk but then somehow still either like Dardoch find ways to get on teams or like Doublelift back it up with your play, you're good. Also, to defend Doublelift a little bit, after Worlds when Jensen shit the bed, what did Doublelift do? He shielded his teammate. He shielded Jensen from a lot of the criticism we lost as a team. There is that one example. So it's not always ready to shit on him, but that's a natural setting. So when things are going wrong.
I think it's kind of like what Dom's talking about is more so like regarding like hive mind of people more than like this actually being like a really, really legitimate. Like,
yeah, no, I'm talking about like when you fucking go to like a post game thread, like what opinion are you going to see? It's and like the opinion you're going to see more of is the person that like was against their team. Like that person is going to be propped up more than somebody who is like, you know, quiet about the failures. Like somebody who's humble in like victory, humble in defeat will just not be put on that same pedestal. Like
so sad.
I will give this one to Twitch chat here. Someone said the thing is people view that as passion, not as toxicity when they're like, man, we really wanted to win, but this happened, and God, you know, and it comes off as like passion.
Well, the thing is that most of the people that watch the game just don't know that much about the game. So like if somebody is saying shit, it's like everyone else's fault, and there's no like contest there. Like no one else is being like, hey, no, it actually wasn't. You know, like if nobody's like, hey, Doublelift is actually still allowed to be the shot caller. People just accept it as like fact. They're just like, oh, well, that must be it because like we're hearing this from one party and we're hearing nothing from the others. So
yeah, sorry, we tangented pretty hard off of into the into ego mode.
It's not about what you say. It's about what you do. Actually, no, it's the fucking opposite. It's not about what you do. It's about what you say. That's actually how it works in NALCS.
When you're chasing greatness, it's not about what you do. It's about what you say.
Yep, that's actually what it is.
Just in case you don't understand that reference, it's the Honda commercial with Doublelift and Team.
They always play it right after TL loses.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
It's just because they lost.
The timing is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's like it's so weird. It's like Doublelift like tweets out about like the new PoE season, and then you just like see him like lose a game in LCS, and then it's like when you're chasing greatness. It's like what the fuck, like
dude, chasing greatness in PoE is not easy.
Do they not have any idea? Like, do they not get to choose when they play the commercial? I feel like you have to play a certain amount of ones per broadcast.
Yeah,
That's normally how sponsors work. So like, I don't understand how the person that's choosing it is like, hey, you know, they just got eliminated and got 9th place. Like, probably not don't play it right now, but they just like instantly like hit the fucking button. They're like, yeah, fuck this motherfucker. Like, we're just gonna shit on him even more. Like, so I don't know, man. It's so
I'm
weird.
sure it's exactly what you said. Like, they have to play it like once like per day or something, or like twice per day, and they probably want to play like an ad that's focused around Doublelift right after TL plays, because like that's when most of the TL fans are going to be on. So that's exactly when it gets played, like right after TL's done.
No, I will defend Riot's honor here. It's just baked into the broadcast, so they'll probably think, yes, we have to do it this many times. It's not like, hey, they lost, play it now. It's like they were gonna play it at that point, you know, regardless.
Right after TL plays, that's when they're gonna play it. Because like it's a TL ad. Like that's exactly what I said. What the hell?
Okay. I thought it was, hey, they lost, so hit the button.
Well, I just feel like you would change that around in a broadcast because it's like ridiculously ironic and it just makes the person get like shit on harder. So I feel like if
they secretly love it.
Well, you can choose still. It's not like you don't have like the commercials like it's not that hard to remove a commercial and add a commercial, like change what you're watching, you know? Mm-hmm. Like the commercial's already there. It's literally like cut and paste type shit. Like
State Farms.
Yeah. Do a
right.
State Farm commercial.
Let's reel it back in and close up here on 100 Thieves. I have Ryoma and Stunt here in the...
You have them in like red. You have them like they died or something.
It's just, you know, it's just, what you call it? Iridescent? They're... I forgot the word. Oh, their opacity is lower. They're transparent. Their success relies on them because we know Cody and Someday are performing well. Meteos can perform well, can kind of shit the bed, but it's really about Stunt and Ryoma, and I think it's their growth and their ability to rise to the playoffs is how far that they're going to go. Do you feel, I want to start with Loco because I feel like we know where Dom's feeling on this, but Loco, do you feel like they have the opportunity to surprise people here?
I mean, they're very like obvious in who they are. They are a late game scaling team. I kind of wanted to talk about Ryoma and Stun because like they improved a lot. Like we bagged on both of them so hard in the beginning of the split, but I think they're pretty good functioning pieces of the team. At least Ryoma doesn't get called a dog from Dom every single day.
I mean, I haven't bottom two.
Really?
Yeah.
Bottom two? They could have almost finished second. So that would have been like, what does that say about rest of their team? That he can't be bottom two.
Yeah, I think it completely makes sense if you consider Someday and Cody Sun as good as I consider Someday and Cody Sun.
Someday or Cody are that good. Someday is one.
I think that Someday is like the best top. I'd say Cody is like a top 380 carry. I'd say Stunt is like, you know, Stunt does his job, and I'd say Meteos is like job. I mean, I think Ryoma like has a lot of weaknesses that like, I mean, there's games where he just gets shit on and they just win anyway because their team is just better. You know, like for example, the game versus CLG. Like I think Pobouncer pretty much outclassed him that entire game.
Oh, that game was tragic.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like he's not somebody where I watch like Ryoma play Syndra and I'm like, that's it right there. Like that's the fucking like he's got the like he just looks like uncomfortable. Like he'll just miss like every stun where it's like, damn, it is kind of hard to hit Syndra stun. But you watch like the better Syndras play. That shit, it looks like a targeted fucking ability. It looks unmissable when you watch like a good Syndra play, right? People are gonna be like, "Oh, you're a fucking Bjergsen apologist." Just so happens he's just the best Syndra that we have, right? Like, there's no other Syndra player close to as good as Bjergsen right now. Watch his Syndra game, watch Ryoma's Syndra game, and tell me that this guy that they're in the same tier. I just won't believe it.
The thing about Syndra and like the thing you talked about, like always hitting stuns, there's definitely just being really good at the stuns, but there's also different kind of stuns you can do on Syndra. There's QE,
WE,
there's EQ, and then there's also sometimes you do the no skill combo, QRE, and then WQ. So it's also being like selective about what kind of stuns that you do.
Yeah.
Going back onto more to Ryoma, like the game versus EG was actually pretty dog shit. Like Ryoma dying right before the Baron thing happened, and then Stunt dying afterwards. Like it looked like they lost focus. So there are times where Ryoma looks bad, but there's also times where he's just like stable and just like getting the job done, not falling behind and holding his own versus like the better mid lane and allowing 100 Thieves to get to that late game. So
I mean, I don't know, like
worse than Ryoma. Aika for sure.
You think Golden Glue's played worse than Ryoma?
Golden Glue has been one of the core reasons that Golden Guardians has been winning, so it's hard to say that.
Yeah, exactly. And then Pobelter just shit on Ryoma last week.
That's just that's just one game though.
Okay,
I think I would have Pobelter worse than Ryoma over the course of the last 5 games that was played.
Really?
Over the course of the last 5 games, I think.
Yeah, Pobelter had a pretty bad last 5. I'm trying to think about like when 5 games ago started, but if 5 games ago, does that include Pobelter's like fucking 11-1 Syndra game versus TL?
It's right after that one. It's right after that one.
Oh, right after that one? All right.
Okay.
I don't know. I think
I think he's actually been comparable to Jensen, because Jensen has played so badly.
I don't think so personally. I think that Jensen has been playing better than Ryoma. I think that he's just a better.
It's comparable.
That's weird that we are comparing Jensen.
Maybe,
to Ryoma. But I think
maybe
I don't think
I don't think so personally.
I think. Yeah.
I think Ryoma might be like lower. I do think Ryoma's on the lower end, but I don't think he's like a dog shit mid laner. He's definitely a functioning.
Okay, so we just named him. So you said that Golden Glue's better than him. We think he's comparable. You said he's comparable to maybe Jensen. He's worse than Niski. He's worse than Jizuke. He's worse than Power of Evil. Like maybe he is better than Froggen. Like
I don't know. Froggen and Control Mages in like the last 3 games have been so fun.
Exactly. So it's like if you're saying like Froggen on like Froggen. Okay, maybe. Like, I think the highest you could put Ryoma was like the 8th best mid laner in the league, and he's on the 3rd best team. So think about that too.
Pobelter and then 8, yeah.
Okay, so think about that concept, like how much better you look when you're on a winning team than a losing team. So you're playing on the 3rd best team. That's going to make you look so much better than you actually are, like normally, right? And then you're still being the 8th best mid laner in the league. Like that. That means that you're not a good player.
I will say he used to be about the 10th best mid laner.
Yeah,
he definitely did improve. And even like throwing out the whole placement thing, he's letting the team function. He wasn't letting the team function before. Like the games were just getting busted open through him. He's letting the team like actually get to the late game stages without bleeding so much now.
Yeah, I mean he's closing his cheeks a little bit up in the mid lane. Like that's about it.
Saliga watch. Just throwing that out there. All right. Well, 100 Thieves. We kind of like dissected them a little bit. Let's go to another big team that has made playoffs. That expectations probably changed from week 8 to the end of week 8 to the end of week 9. And that'd be everyone's favorite TSM. We have Angry Boy, Joshy Boy right there on the logo. They go 0-2 and they slide from 2nd to 5th, and now are moved into the losers bracket. So they lose the double elimination portion. It's them and Golden Guardians as the 2 teams, and I think they're the ones that have to play
100 Thieves.
100 Thieves. Because Cloud9's going to lose.
Because Cloud9's going to beat 100 Thieves unless the fucking world's... Like, if Cloud9 loses to 100 Thieves, holy shit, that'd be crazy. Like, I don't even know what to say at that point.
Ryoma best mid?
Yeah, maybe... imagine just Ryoma just ends up just being the best mid in fucking NA. He just takes over playoffs, just 1v9, shits on every fucking team's face alone. Yep. I think that's something that people, like, need to, like, consider, right? Is... You look at 100 Thieves and how the roster is built, and I feel like the biggest question mark, the biggest thing that like Papa Smithy staked his reputation on, was because like he already had Someday, right? Someday was already on 100 Thieves before he got there. So getting Cody was good. Stunt was like okay, I guess.
It was just a
Mediums.
natural progression after Afro.
Yeah, after Afro, like that made sense too. So he was kind of already there. So the pieces that he put together were like Meteos, Ryoma, and Cody. And I feel like Ryoma was a huge fucking miss. Like I think that he's been a huge miss this split. Like people thought that he was just going to be like this mechanical talent, and that he would just end up being kind of like.
I'll defend Papa a little bit. I heard about their budget, and they were very, very tight on the budget, and they had like options that they wanted, like that were like home runs.
I just like I don't where like I would.
Okay, we're gonna go Ryoma.
Is it like a reliable source? Because I mean, this team played for fucking. I think they had the most expensive roster last year.
And then they scaled back, and they wanted to be way more budget conscious.
Yeah, but I mean, like, were they budget conscious to the point where they had to go Ryoma? Like,
Apparently.
because I mean, I would just love to
how to phrase this.
I would love to see like how much money they could have potentially dropped on a mid laner.
Their budget was flexible, but they didn't feel like, hey, this is a player like where we can go ham on. Like any of the player that were available to them, they weren't in love with.
I mean, my whole point is that if I was in that situation, I think that Ryoma
Gone for a
Ica.
home run.
No, I would have just gone for. I think that DeMonte probably would have outperformed Ryoma this split for 100 Thieves. I think DeMonte was way more stable and looked way more competent as a mid laner at the end of 2019 than Ryoma's looked this split. Like Ryoma looks like he's just like learning how to play pro. Whereas DeMonte actually looked like he could like play pro at that point. Like he had the confidence, and I think that he was coming off like a high from going to Worlds and stuff. I think that he would have potentially outperformed. I think Pobelter would have outperformed.
All right, I'll sprinkle in a little bit more. They also really fell in love with like how much effort Ryoma put into like the boot camp.
He's trying.
Yeah.
Nice. That matters.
That does matter. We talked about like how lazy players can be.
We
like,
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They love the attitude of Ryoma's like do or die. Like
This is how you know a player's shit when Loco has to be like, yeah, man, but he's trying really fucking hard. It's like, okay, dude, that changes it, man. Now you're right. Like
Wiggly wasn't trying at all.
Ryoma's gonna outwork everyone.
Ruin wasn't
but Grace
trying
and
at
Gilmer.
all.
Everyone but Grace and Gilmer. He's gonna outwork everyone. But
I
Grace and Gilmer.
appreciate when players are putting in effort. Obviously, I would like a player to put in effort than to not put in effort. But I don't think the fact that you're putting in effort suddenly like absolves you of all fucking like sin of this fucking performance that we've seen in spring split of 2020.
At the end of the day, Pickup ended up better than what most people thought it would be. 100 Thieves got to stay within their budget. Papa Smithy got to make it his own team by picking the player that he wanted. I think overall, 100 Thieves like did better than expectations.
Oh, definitely they did better than expectations, but I'd say that that's like more because other teams did so much fucking worse than expectations. So like we're talking about TSM, right?
They can't play for other people, so they did
Sure.
what they can do.
Sure, but I don't think that they did like. I don't think that they. So before coming into this split, I had them at like 5th, for example. I think that was where they were on my tier list. I think that that's like how they should have done. But they still seem like that. Like I expected this level of performance from the team. Maybe actually a little bit better. I thought that Ryoma might have been like pretty good. I wasn't sure, because they're so hyped. Plus, I see Mo a lot and Ibrahim, who works with Ebs.
Yeah, the business. 100
yeah.
Thieves. Yeah.
Yeah, so he works with 100 Thieves, so he hyped Ryoma to me. So I was like, oh, maybe this guy like has some promise. Apparently, he's doing well in scrims. Like shit. Like I thought before the split, like he would be like a 7th place mid.
100 Thieves staff. One thing I noticed is like they have a very, very strong internal message. So I wouldn't take their word directly. I think they are smart, but they were gung ho on everything. Like they were gung ho on Soligo. They were gung ho on Huhi. So like when they're gung ho on a player, I'm not just like I don't immediately buy into it. I just like, okay, you guys think he's good, but you guys also thought some of the other players you had were good too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they thought Soligo was the answer. So, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
He might be this playoffs.
Yeah, true. Who knows? I think Ryoma's like he's definitely playing better than he has been, but I don't think he's good. Like, I wouldn't say he's a top 6 mid laner in the league. No fucking way you'd tell me. Like, you're fucking delusional if you think he's top 6. So if I thought he was 7th coming in, the best he could have, like, you could rate him as 7th. I think anything higher than, like, Jizuke will shit on Ryoma. Jizuke is way better than Ryoma, right? Power People's way better. Bjergsen is way better than Ryoma. You remember the 2 lanes that...
They are definitely better, but the part is, how much is Ryoma going to break? If he doesn't break, and he's holding his own, then he did his job, and that's pretty much the only thing he needed to be doing.
People are going to forget because of the result of the game, because of that massive throw from TSM, people are going to forget what Bjergsen did to Ryoma in that game. he bent that motherfucker over. He was 4 items on Azir when the Victor had Hex Core, Ludens, and a Seeker's Arm Guard. Bjergsen had 4 fucking items. That is not a fucking comparable level of player. And I don't know, man. I can't say that he's better than Jensen either. Like, I don't know. I feel like 100 Thieves, the place where I think that they did the best is I think that someday, like, coming into this, I thought he'd be like maybe like a 4th or 5th best mid. Like, there's a lot of top laners I thought would just be better than him that just straight up weren't. You know, I thought that someday would be competing with like Huni for like the 4th, 3rd best mid laner in the league, but someday actually just play like a fucking god this split. Yeah, like he actually is just a fucking monster. So I think like I've always been high on Cody Sun. Everyone knows that. I fucking compared him to Doublelift last split. This split, I think he just outperformed Doublelift straight up. I'd say that you're delusional if you think that Doublelift played as well as Cody Sun over the course of the split. I thought that Meteos would be better than he was. Personally, like I think that Meteos had a generally rough split, but he's, you know, stable now. But yeah, I think Someday is like really a scary player right now. Like he's their win condition for 100 Thieves. So if 100 Thieves are going to win, he's going to need to like, if they're going to win this series versus Cloud9, it's got to be like Someday shitting on Licorice. Like that's like their win condition. Like Someday shits on Licorice hard enough to get Cody Sun to late game, and then Cody Sun wins late game. That's what it has to be.
Oh, all right. Let's go to TSM.
Yeah, all right. Waiting. I put it back to 100 Thieves because I just wanted to make a quick point that TSM gets to play 100 Thieves in the losers bracket here. But TSM, disappointing that they go 0-2 here to finish things off, and they had the opportunity to really stamp their claim to the playoffs and get that bye, or not quite a bye, but the twice to beat advantage here. How do we feel about them after seeing them go 0-2? Because we talked about it before, going 1-1 last week, or was it 1-1, or were they? Yeah, they were 1-1.
Yeah, they were 1-1.
And we were pressing Dardoch a little bit here on how is he fitting within the team. And, you know, now that we're at the end of the season and there's adversity and they didn't quite finish where they wanted to finish, and then they go 0-2, and now they don't have that extra game to play. They weren't able to slide into the 3-4, or I guess 2-3 slot where Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest are probably in the best position out of the non-Cloud9 teams. How do they move forward here?
What's your first take on? What do you think, Dom?
I think that this team is like collapsing. I'm scared of like how it must be to be with like Dardoch in this type of team environment. You know, I feel like when a team's underperforming, you have Dardoch on it. That's like what I didn't want to see. What I was hoping for was that TSM performed well enough. And like, so what I thought was going to happen going into the season was that it was going to be like a definitive top 3 of like TL, TSM, and C9. And like, because, you know, all those teams were just shitting on the rest of the team. And then I thought like the middle of the pack would be like CLG, EG, and like 100 Thieves. So like they would just be like significantly better than like the middle of the pack teams. That like you wouldn't have that problem, right? Like it would just be them trying to like be the best teams, and then that wouldn't be an issue. But I feel like losing to teams like 100 Thieves has to be fucking rough for Dardoch in this situation, because I feel like TSM just should be better based on like organization, structure, players, etc. They should just be better than teams like EG and 100 Thieves. So the fact that they're not is like a big red flag for me.
What do you think about Broken Blade in the last 2 days?
I think he's been playing pretty bad. Like it's been bad, but then they're also not playing through Broken Blade. You know? So they're not doing what got them there. They're just doing weird things where it's like the way that TSM was strongest was not like, they're not like 100 Thieves, right? So 100 Thieves, they blind pick the top laner, leave him on an island, and then someday we'll try to like just get advantages by himself, right? Broken Blade was the type of player where they gave him like weird counters that he liked. Like, hey, dude, you want to play fucking Kiana into Aatrox? Take the Kiana into Aatrox, and we're going to just like play around your lane. We're going to dive your lane, and we're going to like let you, you know, style on the enemy top laner. That's kind of how it felt like. That was what TSM's like strategy was. It was like more counter picks. I mean, obviously he always had a bunch of good set games, but outside of the set, it was like counter picks, and then he would just like, you know, really just dominate the lane through like setting up waves and then getting like communication, diving around the lane. It didn't feel like they're doing that. It feels like they kind of tried to play a more balanced style, where I feel like TSM needs to double down on their identity.
I feel like Broken Blade actually is just something's off. Like either communication with Dardoch's off, but he's getting caught out in situations where he should never be getting caught out. The thing that he's fucking up so much on is you win the lane initially, which he's always doing, and then you get the wave pushed in, and then the first wave that's going to push back to you meets closer at their turret, and he's still playing way far up there and getting ganked every single fucking time. I forgot which team it was versus, but he made that same mistake twice where he just lost lane that he shouldn't have.
Yeah, no. The set game was weird. I think the problem is like the way that he wants to play lane phases is different than the way other people want to play lane phases. So like for example, top laners, like for example, I guess the easiest way to
it was
compare
versus 100 Thieves.
Yeah, so the easiest way to compare players is like somebody like Someday is somebody who likes to like you know, keep the wave in a bad spot and like freeze and play for like advantage. So it's like regardless of if somebody comes or not, like he'll be able to like, you know, like he'll be more self-sufficient. Whereas the way Broken Blade wants to play the map is he doesn't really care about like building that much of a CS lead, generally speaking. He wants to push you in and dive or push you in and roam. Yeah, like he wants to like do shit. Like he wants to go for like kills around the map. Whereas
that's
like
why he works well with Dardoch.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the difference there. And I feel like if they play around that, TSM has actually been able to execute that almost every time. There hasn't been a game really where I feel like they've just been diving top over and over again and they just weren't able to like execute, or like they lost the game off the dives. Like there's been times where they had bad dives, but it always felt like they were just like getting something from it.
But when Broken Blade doesn't work, this team doesn't work. One thing that's really weird for me is I thought Bjerg and Dardoch would actually develop really well over the split. I mean, Dardoch has always respected the fuck out of Bjergsen, and Bjergsen works well with every single jungle. Like Bjergsen made like Centaurion wasn't that great when Bjergsen and Centaurion were playing together, but Bjergsen made Centaurion look like a 9.5 mechanic jungler. Like he has never made a jungle look bad. I guess there was Mike Young. But other than that, like Bjergsen has worked so well with every single jungle. And yeah, that just never came to be. I thought it would be like Dardoch on stuff like Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Gragas, and you have Bjergsen on like LeBlanc, Syndra, Irelia, and there's so much good like 2v2 synergy. And that version of TSM and that version of Dardoch Bjergsen never ever fucking showed up.
I think that this type of team should theoretically be better in best of 5 though. So I think that like them having, because like when they lose, there's always like things where it's like, maybe you can make it like some adjustments. It's like they're the team that throws the most, right? If you look at like games this split, they've lost the most games that they're winning. You know, so like obviously the early weeks, like the fucking first game they played against TL, the first game they played against Immortals, they had like the massive throw versus FlyQuest, where they were up like 10k and the enemy team had Ornn. Like they lose to Ornn a lot, by the way. Like that's something where I feel like maybe it's time to stop giving Ornn so much. Like you can take Ornn. Broken Blade played really well on Ornn so far. So they've thrown the most. So, and then there was obviously the last game against 100 Thieves that we just saw this week, which is the reason why they got 5th. So that being said, like they I think that there was like a stat, they have the highest first blood rate of like 80% or something, or one of the highest first blood rates. I don't know what Cloud9's is, but they have an absurdly high first blood rate. They're winning most of the games, and they have bad late game shot calling for the most part. But I feel like in a series, if you're able to like get advantages over and over again, I don't think you're gonna throw 3 games in a row in a series. I mean, if you fucking do, if you do, then like fuck, maybe you are just like shit. Like I don't know what to say at that point. But that's like why I'll give more confidence to a team like TSM than a team to like FlyQuest, you know, because they at least know how to build advantages and they have like some type of formula. I just want to see them like go back to it, double down on the formula.
Do they know how to end games? Like that was the problem versus 100 Thieves this week, where they have Baron.
Okay, so the biggest problem with TSM, the biggest fucking problem that which I'm gonna answer your question right now is Dardoch fucking over engages every time. Like he suicide over engage. Like he has no idea about like where his carries can, where his team can contribute damage and when they can't. It looks like it's lazy or some shit. He just like, and this is actually Closer's biggest problem too. These players are both like pretty good early game.
Feed hero and then kill hero.
Well, they just like, it's like if you're playing Jarvan, there's players that are really good. So the players that are really good at this, for example, are like Meteos and Xmithie. I think Meteos and Xmithie haven't been playing that well this season. They're towards like the bottom of my tier list. But both those players understand like ranges and stuff and like how to use like threat like when you're a tank in a team fight, the threat of your EQ on Jarvan is better than your actual EQ most of the time, because your EQ is not going to do damage. But like you want to like force the carry to like step up to you and then EQ, and like or you can do like different things. Like you can ulti and then EQ out, and you can try to stall the backline. Whereas like Dardoch overengages so much. You see it on Sejuani too, right? Like how many times do they dive? Like how dog shit was that dive mid versus 100 Thieves, where they're just randomly like winning and they just
have all the advantage in the world, and then Broken Blade Dardoch goes behind them and like what?
Yeah, it just goes behind the turret and suicides. Like at some point, this has to be a mistake that you can review and improve on. It's a very like common trend. It's not like they make different throws at like different times. It's like, oh, how the fuck are they losing this game? It's like, stop fucking over engaging once you have the advantage.
It's not that easy, and you know they cut Dardoch's role on the team so much. I can't load up the last game they played, but Dardoch's like.
He's just Jarvan Sejuani every single fucking game.
Seju, Jarvan, one Gragas game. Seju, Jarvan, and then I have a game missing, but from my memory, he either played Jarvan or Sejuani for his final game also. So
Dardoch looked so much better when he was playing like the set jungle and things he wants to play. Even when he played the Pantheon jungle game.
Kiana,
where they lost.
Pantheon Talia game.
Yeah, when he played the Pantheon Talia game, they lost that game. They massively threw that game, right? But that's to me is like, that's like the good Dardoch. And then like the fucking Sejuani Dardoch, it's like, bro, I would take Smithy Sejuani over this. Like this is just not what he's good at, and his over engages are just so common. So hopefully they can shore up that mistake, because this team has the most potential out of this middle of the pack. You know, like you saw this split, they beat Cloud9. They're the only team to beat Cloud9 this split, and they beat them decisively too. They like shit on Cloud9, right? Because they have good early game. So if they win their early game and they don't fucking throw, they can win. So like that's this team. Like if you want good quality games from NA, you better hope this team gets their shit together, or it's just going to be Cloud9 shitting on everyone in playoffs. That's how I see it.
You know what we talked about like way before the season started? Like who's going to win out? Is TSM going to be able to turn Dardoch into a ward, or is Dardoch going to be able to finally fix TSM's jungle problem?
He's becoming a ward.
Yeah, he's becoming a ward.
Yeah, for sure.
Happening. Bjergsen working well with all junglers because they turn into wards.
He's like a bad ward, bro. Like he's becoming the ward that you put outside the bush, and you're like, "Fuck, just put another one." Like it's just like not. It's not like a good ward, you know.
You're recalling to base. You just want to get the trinket out. You have to snap the trinket. You just throw it.
No, it's a fucked up ward. It's like, oh shit, I didn't mean to put that there. Like, just if he's gonna be a ward, at least fucking team fight well, you know.
Yeah. I think like. I don't think the CSM gets their shit together for playoffs. I don't know
why.
So? What have they shown you?
They've shown me high highs.
Yes, but they're the crazy hot girlfriend. Like sure,
I always give the crazy hot girlfriend a second chance. What? Like,
check that bingo box, everybody playing bingo at home.
Yeah, no, that is a fucking problem. If a girl, they always get the fucking second chance from me.
Damn. Yeah, I usually give them the third, the fourth. It's until they block me.
Yeah. And at a point, I know I'm fucking myself over, but it's still worth it to me, you know? Yeah. Like, that's kind of where it's at this point. It's like, might as well, double down.
It's worth it for the gram.
Yeah.
The gram, the Twitter pics. It's worth it.
No, it's super worth it.
All right, does TSM turn it around for you, Dom?
Wait, what'd you say? Does TSM turn it around?
Yeah, do they turn it around?
I mean, I don't think that I hope that they're not fifth place. I don't think they'll lose first round, for example. I think that they should beat 100 Thieves if after 100 Thieves loses to C9. Like I'll probably predict TSM pre-draft going into 100 Thieves versus TSM, unless 100 Thieves has a really good performance against C9.
Okay.
Like look at their games. Like, okay, so the two games they played against 100 Thieves, right? They're 1-1 versus 100 Thieves. Think about the two games. What were the two games? It was Bjergsen shitting on Ryoma, right? The Syndra versus LeBlanc game, you remember that game? He solo killed him multiple times in that game. And like, this is why like people are like, oh, you're so negative about Ryoma. It's like, yeah, well, because I watched him play all the fucking games. Like, I'm sorry that I had to sit through all that and I like co-streamed all the games. So I actually had to see how dog shit he was. But you're playing LeBlanc into fucking Syndra. As the LeBlanc, you're getting solo killed 3 times in a game. Like that's game number 1. Oh, and the game they lost, Bjergsen was 8-0 and pentakilled at like a Baron. Like that game should be unlosable. Like if those are the games that I'm watching going into it, and I have to like, and fuck like the scores and everything. If I just look at both teams play each other and you watch both of those games, how should you not say TSM should be the favorite? Like TSM was winning for a bigger portion of those games than fucking losing. You know,
the thing is like, let's go back to like when they had Baron. there's something that most teams know how to do, and it was just so fucking obvious. Walk the fuck up. You don't have to actually engage on them. It's the thing you said about like the Jarvan EQ. Pretend like you're gonna fucking go in. And TSM just refused to even walk up to the inhibitor turret and pretend like they're going. Like, use your ultimates. Just act like you're going. And people are forced to back up when you have Baron.
Yep.
And they don't do that. When they...
Yeah. But that's a fucking... That's a Dardoch thing. That's a Dardoch thing.
The thing is, I don't believe they don't know how to do that. I believe they know how to do it, and they can't pull it off. If they can't pull it off in like a regular season game, I don't think they're going to be able to consistently pull it off. And versus a team like 100 Thieves, who's so good about not making mistakes later on in the game, I feel like TSM's going to be against like a timer versus them. And when you lose in that kind of manner, where you win early and they make better decisions than you later on, the games feel unwinnable. Like, you're the better early game team, and you can't win in like mid and late game. You have these leads and you can't convert. It is such a depressing way to lose, and you start blaming each other too.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that in general, like, I think that it's when I look at like problems, I think it's easier to fix that problem theoretically. Like, you can look at a VOD and you can like talk about these things, right? Like, these are things that we're able to discuss. How do you talk about Bjergsen versus Ryoma in this matchup over the course of 2 games?
You definitely
like,
can't.
What can you say if you're 100 Thieves? It's like, shit, I mean, just fucking protect your butthole, Ryoma. Like, he's coming for it. Like, what do you say? Like, there's nothing you can say. You just have to fucking like accept that you're like, all right, like, just, you know, let's play safe mid laners and just scale. And, you know, maybe like once they throw, we'll win. No, I take fucking aggression and proactivity almost every time.
I agree with Dom regarding the problem that TSM has is easier to fix than the problem that 100 Thieves has. Like, you can't make Roma a better player than Bjergsen, but when you had this problem of how to convert early game leads, how to not throw over the entirety of the split, then it is not a problem that becomes easy to fix. They've been trying to fix it for the entire fucking split, and they still can't do it. Like, they were like, okay, maybe it's because we don't have good teamfight champions. Maybe it's because we don't have good engaged champions. Let's draft the best engaged champions in the meta in Sejuani and Jarvan, and they still can't fix it.
But that to me is like I think that's more like creating the problem than helping the problem, because I feel like, honestly, like, sure, like, you could argue that they're because they're not able to, like, I understand where your argument is, where it's like, oh, well, they're trying to like draft to shore up their weaknesses, but they're still fucking it up. Mm-hmm. But I think that they would just win so much harder if they just had like you have your mid lane winning hard, right? Yeah. Like, you have like a top laner that can receive pressure and like has like a bunch of counter picks. If they have an early game jungler, I feel like they should be able to like blow out the game, and you don't have to. And like, volatile. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I think that it's easier to throw with Jarvan and Sejuani if you're over engaging than if you're playing Lee Sin. Like, I don't think Dardoch's gonna fucking like go into the fucking turret and try to like insect somebody and just suicide and die. Like, maybe he does, right?
We literally saw him do that on Jarvan this year, though.
Yeah,
of course, gonna do it on Lee.
Well, I think it's harder to do on Lee, is my point. Like, like you have to see the angle to do it, right? Like, whereas like Sejuani, you can see like the angle and you can like throw out an ultimate. Jarvan, you can EQ forward and ult, like, because it's very guaranteed. Lee Sin players, like, they have that, like, if you're a good Lee Sin player, right? Which Dardoch, generally speaking, has been a good
Lee Sin player. Yes,
he's been a good Lee Sin player for most of his career. He's good about factoring into like, okay, well, if I like Q this guy and I try to ward jump behind, I'm gonna get CC'd and instant die. Like, I don't think that he's just like that fucking brain dead. I think that he's like over engaging and kind of like trolling some of these team fights. But I feel like he can play better than it. And especially like in playoffs, like, there has to be some mental reset that comes into playoffs, right? There has to be something where it's like, hey, you know what? Like, we're not a fucking, like, you know, we fucking trolled a couple games. We've lost like a bunch of games by throwing. We've had some fucking bad drafts, like the Diana one, the fucking Maokai mid one. Let's fucking get back to our basics. Like, how did we fucking...
birthday, I don't think she's going to call you back. Just because it's playoff, I don't think TSM's going to improve. Like, the crazy girlfriend stays the crazy girlfriend.
Yeah, well, we'll see in best of fives. I think that this for like their way of playing, I think should be better at a best of five.
I think to close it out, I worry that because we've talked about Dardoch over aggression against Meteos' range, because someday probably is currently in a better form than Broken Blade. And because when at the very top, when we talked about TSM and playing the way that they should play, which is through unlocking the top lane with your two that you don't have a dominant victory through. Like, unlike in mid lane where it's very clear you play through Bjergsen and they've have trouble playing through Bjergsen and are going from a more balanced approach. That's where I get worried for this TSM roster in their perceived elimination game for the 5th place role.
I'm actually most worried about the bot lane.
I don't worry about their bot lane at all. I feel like they're just going to do exactly what they need to do. I don't think.
Yeah, but their bot lane, like, I think their bot lane can get fucking blown open.
They had like dumb mistakes where they walked up the turret and got dope when they were playing aggressive topside. But I actually think their bot lane will fix that going into playoffs. Where I'm more worried about Broken Blade.
Did you expect Kabe to be better?
I guess I just never focused on Kabe on this version of TSM. There were just like so much other things going on always. Like there was like a little bit of period where I was like, damn, his Xayah looks good. Like they should lean a lot more into this Xayah recon shit they've been doing. But other than that, like I just haven't been focused on him. I thought he's like pretty much where I expect him to be. Maybe his laning, I expected a bit more. I was like, well, North Cairn was an inter. Biofrost is actually a decent laner, so.
But North Cairn was always like pretty good in lane, though. I think North Cairn like started inting like as like his inting scaled with like the length of the game. Like the longer the game, the harder he would int. You know.
So I thought with Bio they might have stronger laning. That's probably an aspect that I'm a little bit disappointed on. But other than that, like I got exactly what I thought I would get.
I thought Kabe would be mechanically better. I see him making a lot of mistakes now that it just felt like he didn't make, like, it felt like in EU, he just never really made mistakes. You know, it felt like he never really won, like, he never won lane super hard or he never, like, went super fucking ham. But it just feels like he just makes more mistakes in terms of, like, getting hit by things, you know, not being able to estimate, like, when he's going to get engaged on things like that. I think that they need to go for, more engage-oriented supports. I really don't want to see another game where they're playing fucking Yuumi. I feel like that's just not a good champion for TSM right now.
I don't think Yumi's a good champion unless you really know how to play it and you need other lanes to do well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like, I don't know. I'm not sure because I think that Yuumi does have a function. Like, it should be pickable into Braum and Tahm Kench. And, like, it should just you should get an advantage through the Yuumi, and the Yuumi should be broken later on. I'm sure, like, you've played against Yuumi in solo queue, right? Like, you've played against how annoying that fucking champion is. Like, it's really cancer once you get out of lane. And there are matchups that you can get out of lane pretty easily with, but it just seems like it's just not
one of them.
Yeah, and it just feels like it's just not something that they're good at. But when I watch other regions play it, like I respect Yuumi as a champion. Like, I don't think it's a dog shit champion. I mean, you watch it in LCK and it looks good when they pick it. So
it is not an early game champion, but once you hit certain power spikes, like Yuumi on certain champions, on certain carries, it's like, oh my fucking god, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that theoretically, like it's probably a really attractive idea because I feel like Broken Blade could use a Yuumi with the way he plays, right? Like you could put a Yuumi on Broken Blade and it's like, shit, that motherfucker would be scary with a Yuumi, but it just doesn't seem to work out. Like it's just not what it's supposed to be.
Oh, before we move on, because we talk so much about, or you personally think Someday is like amazing, aren't you worried about that matchup, Someday versus Broken Blade? TSM's like main way of playing is Broken Blade, and he's gonna get pretty much like stopped dead right by Someday.
I think that Broken Blade, when he's on his highs, can beat a player like Someday though. Like or like I just don't think that Broken Blade's gonna get like outperformed hard by Someday in the series. Like,
but if they're not winning through Someday and they're not gonna win late game, then how does TSM win?
If they're not gonna win through Broken Blade.
Oh yeah, my bad.
I think they win through mid in this matchup. I think that this is like a matchup where like it's not like the ideal matchup for TSM. It's not like you have advantages everywhere. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have such a fucking massive mid lane gap in these games that should affect like Someday's ability to outperform Broken Blade. Even if Broken Blade and Someday are going even, I feel like that's advantage TSM. Because I think that Broken Blade can do better into Someday than Ryoma can do into Bjergsen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And I think Dardoch should play better than Meteos.
They need to like turn around and like completely switch their identity. They did have that Bjergsen Irelia game. They did have Bjergsen Syndra games too. But that identity for TSM hasn't been the primary way they play. And Bjergsen and Dardoch haven't really developed their synergies throughout this split. So I can see them winning like that, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be something new.
I just can't imagine like it would be really sad considering how like confident, how good Broken Blade, and Broken Blade's always been a player that's like stepped up in my mind when they needed it, right? Like you think
Spring
about
finals,
yeah, spring finals, dude. He shit on Impact at that spring finals, right? Like that was one of the reasons why I went to 5 games. Like he solo killed
MVP. He would have been MVP if they won.
Yes, if TSM won 2019 finals, Broken Blade would be MVP of the finals because of how well he fucking played. Like he was getting massive CS leads. I feel like he's got it in him, you know? Like he just has like the skill in him. I don't see it with Ryoma. That's just how I view things. Maybe I'm just biased. Who knows? But we'll see. You know, I think I've seen more out of Broken Blade to believe that he can be good than I've seen out of Ryoma. And I still think he is a massive fucking liability. Like I still am very low on Ryoma.
If there's one team that you would be biased for, it's TSM. And if there's one team you'd be biased against, it's IMT or 100 Thieves.
Wait, why would I be biased against 100 Thieves? Like most of but I mean, most of my I don't have anything against Ryoma, and most of my like closest friends are 100 Thieves.
Not like the LCS team. Yeah, like the
Mo, Eves,
but not really like the LCS team itself.
Well, I mean, I'm like decent friends with Meteos. Like I don't consider myself like, I think the one team that I would be biased for would be TL, to be honest.
TL?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'll be more as like, you don't really seem like a TL streamer. You seem more like, I feel like you're closer. Yeah. I feel like you're more like closer with Broken Blade, close with Bjergsen. So I feel like if you root for anything, it's going to be TSM, not like Team Liquid.
I think that the way that I've always seen TSM is I feel like when TSM is good, I feel like it's healthy for the region. I feel like it's so much better having a team.
They're the Lakers, they're the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's just pretty much how it is. It's like for, you know how I view them? It's like, they're like Fnatic to me in EU, where it's like, I want Fnatic to be good because I feel like EU's always better to watch when Fnatic is good.
Oh, it's funny when TSM and Fnatic are bad though.
Yeah, exactly. Because TSM and Fnatic have the same fucking cancer fans, right? Yeah. Like all those fans are just like so delusional, right? Yeah. Like you know, I don't even know what the fucking TSM subreddit looks like, but after those games, I bet you they said some fucking crazy shit in those post-game threads. Like they're like, oh well, it's time to just like murder Peter Zhang publicly. Like it's like, wait, what? Like come on, like let's just improve on the fucking drafts. Like it's just so crazy.
When and where is the public execution for Peter Zhang going to be held?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to be the new opening ceremony for their.
They're like trying to like fucking like coordinate that shit. They're like, all right, so like gatherings more than 100 people aren't possible, but maybe we could stream it on Hitbox. Their rules seem pretty lax. Like it's like, come on, man. Like just wait until playoffs. Jesus Christ.
What was the biggest hate that you got from the TSM fans?
Oh my god, all the fucking time. Because
I hate the TSM fans, bro. I hate the TSM fans. Because I like the team though.
We can just move on. We can talk about my story some other day.
Why? No, I want to hear this fucking story about TSM
now that
fans, bro.
You're willing to talk about all those other things, and plus, this is the tax for using 2 girlfriend examples this episode. You've never done 2 before. You used 2. Tell us, what was the biggest hate you got from TSM fans?
It's mostly when like we didn't do well at Worlds, like, and we didn't do well at MSI, because like that's when like I'm still
crash and burn.
The crash and burn stuff, and like actually, it's actually 0-3. When I said, "Are you ready for 0-3?" before we play CLG, and then we got 3-0'd.
Yeah,
that was probably like a low point.
All right, that's fair.
Oh fuck! I wanted you guys to win so bad too. I literally would have went to Worlds. Yeah, I would have went to Worlds if it was that.
The thing is, you and I were both so convinced we were gonna win because we were doing really well in scrims, and I heard CLG wasn't doing that well in scrims.
So no, you guys were both. I was kind of. I just thought you guys. I thought that CLG would just choke when it mattered. That's kind of how I viewed them, because I played against. So that was the playoffs. So I played against CLG the last 2 playoffs. Before that, and I knocked them out both times 3-0, right? Like I thought that this team just like were chokers when it mattered.
Well done difference.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but I was just like, this team is just like a choking team. Like I thought the Doublelift was just never going to be a champion. Honestly, that's what I felt. I'm like, this guy just doesn't have it in him. When it matters, like he just collapses, and then he just ended up being the most winning player of all time in NA. So I don't know what the fuck happened there. Like well done difference. Some shit, like he joined better teams.
Apparently, like Rick Fox gave like a legendary speech. Like the speech he gave was so fucking legendary. Like everyone was like so fucking pumped that they were gonna win no matter what. I don't know. Like that final
CLG.
Yeah,
this is at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, you don't know. So Rick Fox's son. Rick Fox's son is like the biggest fan of Afro.
Yep.
Oh, Kyle. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a huge fan of Afro. I mean, and your dad's Rick Fox, so like connections were made.
Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
So like they got to talking, and like Rick Fox like kind of.
What do you think Rick Fox said? You think Rick Fox just went in there? He's like, when you're chasing greatness, it's not about what you say. It's about what you do. And then the music just started fucking playing. You think that was the angle or no?
Yeah. He says something about like being a champion, like getting what's yours, like all that fucking cheesy stuff. Like, dude, most speeches when you hear it like out of context, it's cheesy as fuck.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you believe it. Like,
yeah,
you really
no, like I could never handle those Yamato speeches that they would play. They're like, we are brothers and we die today. It's like, all right, keyboard check. Like, what? Like what the fuck? Like, are we doing like the same thing? Like I don't know, man. It was just too high for me.
Speeches are great for the moment, but it's just for the moment.
Right.
You have to buy into the Kool-Aid.
Well, one player. This is the last thing we're going to talk about before we get into a jungler tier list. One player who had a lot of that kind of rah-rah shishkamba around them all season, and I think deserves it because they snuck in. Is
my god, Grayson Guillory.
Gregory,
you know, this is actually
Glue.
This gave me so much like respect for Golden Glue because this has been the first time in a while. Like he's just the type of player where you just expect would like just taper out at this moment.
Yeah.
It's like, is he going to perform when it matters? They have to make the miracle run. And this was like the best weeks he had. You know,
Yeah.
I think that this is the best weeks he had.
Yeah.
So
No one outworks Golden Glue.
Respect.
And Golden Guardians in this case. So with the thing I wanted to point out, as much as everyone was like looking out for Team Liquid, and especially after the first set of matches, Team Liquid needed everything to go perfectly right to even have a chance to make it to tiebreakers. Golden Guardians were the ones that had the lowest percentage to make it to playoffs going into week 9.
They miracle run, right?
Yeah.
They had
Yeah,
like
it is
3 games they needed to win.
Yeah.
And they win all 3. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, they've been really smart about drafting. I love what they do. I would have loved like an enchanter into Tom Kench, but at least we got a Ziggs. That's pretty much like the best thing that NA has done in terms of counter picks.
I thought the Ziggs was really insane. And like even as soon as they drafted, I was so excited. I thought it's just like you think about that lane conceptually. What can a Tom Kench do to a Ziggs in lane?
Nothing.
It's
Absolutely
literally
fucking nothing.
It's actually just a doomed fucking lane.
And then the other one is Silas. I love Silas. He's one of the mid lanes I've been playing right now. He gets so much play in LPL.
Yep.
Because like the thing that Dom talked about is like, so Silas is a completely different champion, by the way. So the old Silas we knew was really dominant in early game and just dominant throughout the whole fucking game. But the new Silas is actually really weak. And you have no wave clear. You see him like flap his arms around and you're like, holy fuck, he's wave clearing like crazy. But he actually does negative damage to creeps. So he's really weak earlier on. And then when you hit level 13 and you have your W max, you have your E max, you are like a god tier bruiser with Conquerors and your 2 cooldown items. So he's much more closer to a Kassadin. Golden Glue solo killing Pobelter is really fucking big in the Silas Corki matchup. And like Pobelter giga inted to make that happen.
Yeah, that was really poorly played. I don't even know if he Valkyried at all. I think he just like took the trade up the ass and just died. And also like that was right after they traded. They went 1 for 2. So Golden Guardians went 1 for 2 because Golden Glue was like warding and got jumped. And he kind of misplayed that fight too. And Closer died for it too. Also Closer flashed, missed his EQ. So it was a pretty rough like 2v2 that they had. So that actually swung the game so much because it went from like, oh, we should be generally behind mid, and that solo kill made it so they had advantage mid.
Yeah. And also, Keith, no flame to Keith. Like, you were put in a terrible situation, but Hui is like 10 billion times. I'm not even sure like Hui's like an amazing support. It's just like, oh, this is Keith's difference. Like, literally, it is just Keith's difference. Like, Keith not being there is so apparent, and Hui just does his job, so he looks so much fucking better.
Yeah. FBI stepped up a lot too. He's cleaned up. Like he still misses ults. He still has FBI moments. Like I wouldn't say FBI is a top tier AD carry, but he's somebody who like you have confidence in late game to like be able to deal damage in a team fight. Like he plays team fights okay for the most part. Like he always has like one that's raw, that's like off. Like there was one team fight he had where he stopwatched in the middle of 5 people instead of just flashing and continuing to auto and saving a stopwatch for like a better moment. And it was like a giga int and they almost lost the game off of it yesterday. But for the most part, I think that FBI like has like really good play too. Like there are team fights where he plays perfectly, you know? So there is
his laning's really good too.
Yeah, I think that he's not a terrible player. Like, he's impressed me more this split.
That's Dom's version of a compliment. I don't think he's a terrible player.
For NA, yeah. Like, for NA, yeah. No, that's a good thing if I don't think you're a terrible player. So, for a while, I mean, I think he played like a terrible player for his previous split, right? So I think that he's went from somebody who we had as 10th on our tier lists last split to somebody who we have like 6th or like 5th maybe on our tier list this split. I think that's a massive improvement. That's like, it's a really like good direction. That's good trajectory, right? It's just like if we shit on, like I shit on Ryan with this entire
there's only
split,
one
right?
trajectory if you're the 10th player.
Oh,
like
no, the other trajectory is out of LCS. You're not safe. It's not like you just stay 10th for the rest of your fucking career. Like, the trajectory is the Soligo route where you play 3 games and then it's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, we're benching someday because you're so bad. That's how bad you are. You are so bad, we are benching some. Think about how bad Soligo was when I was shitting on him, right? People like meme Soligo watch, but realistically speaking, he was so fucking bad, they had to bench someday. The guy that we're talking about right now is being the best top laner in the league.
Back then, you weren't that bought it on someday.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I thought he was like 5th or 6th. But that's because of the team being so shit. I was thinking he was a 5th, 6th top laner when he was on a 10th place team. That's reasonable, right? When he's on the 3rd place team, I think he's the best top laner. I think that's still, like, I still thought he was one of the best part about 100 Thieves, like, when they were playing with that fucking dog shit lineup, you know? It just, they were so bad that I couldn't put him any higher than that.
Okay. Going back onto Golden Guardians, they're smart and then they're also clutch where it counts. Like, one thing that this team is so good at is, like, I see teams make mistakes and then they'll just break apart. Like, TSM is one of those teams. Like, I see a certain mistake, I'm like, fuck, it's over. Like, their mental boom. Golden Guardians actually has insane mental. Like, there's so many times where Golden Glue gets caught out. Oh fuck, Closer gets caught out, and they still can actually play the game. Who was it versus? Was it versus Dignitas?
Dig, I think so. Yeah, where Closer like, just like Giga inted mid when they had Baron. Yeah,
and they still play the game. Like, you can't outwork them. Like, they're just actually.
Well, I think that they have like. I think that they're just like positive because, you know, the thing about that team is, like, for TSM and like TL and teams like that, it's like they're expected to win.
Yeah, the
right?
expectation's huge.
Yeah, their expectations are to like be dominant and to win. So when things start going bad, you start getting like, shit, we should beat this team. Like, what the fuck? How are we losing 100 Thieves? Like, I was 4 items. This guy was 2.5. Now he's got items. Like, shit, we better not lose. Like, that goes through your mind. Whereas Golden Guardians, it's just like, fuck it, man. Just try your best, bro. You're supposed to be 10th place. They were supposed to be 10th place. So they get like 6 getting into playoffs. That's a massive overperformance for this team. This team massively overperformed expectations to split. You know, and a lot of it was because I think Hanser played extremely well. I think Closer, I thought he would be like a middle to bottom tier jungler coming into the split, and he's been very good in my opinion throughout most of it. He has the same problem as Dardoch, where he over engages and he's not good at managing ranges, which is why I don't really like him on Jarvan that much. I really don't like him on Sejuani that much, same as Dardoch, but it just seems like he's just a better version of Dardoch this split. Better early game, just better throughout the game, and everything Closer does in the jungle makes a lot of sense. Like, if you watch the first 5 minutes of a Closer game, it's normally like really like inspiring.
His pathing is good.
His pathing is insane, and that's the most important part about fucking jungling in pro play, in my opinion.
All right, well, Golden Guardians sneaking into that final playoff spot. Congrats to them, and we'll get to see who they get to take on between FlyQuest and EG. How do you feel like they fare against those two teams?
I mean, they looked good versus FlyQuest this week, right?
Speaking a little bit on FlyQuest, because I don't think we're going to touch on them that much.
No.
Like, them getting solo actually does so much for them because they were such a one-dimensional team in the early game. The only way they could get ahead was playing through mid lane, because Ignar, even though he's good, he would never stay in bot lane, so you don't get ahead through bot lane, and Turtle's always left alone.
But I think Turtle's also just like not a win condition. Like, Turtle's just a bottom tier AD in my mind.
And also, Viper isn't a champ or a player that you can play through either.
He's not a human. Is that what you're saying? Like, what are you trying to say?
Well, unless he has Riven, he's not a player you can play through. So the only play that FlyQuest had was gank mid or roam mid. Them getting solo, and then they did it versus Team Liquid, where Centaurian did red buff from bottom side of the map all the way to top lane for the level 2 gank, and it actually worked on Impact.
And then Impact just entered the rest of the game mercilessly.
Yeah, dude.
It gives them another dimension that they did not have with Viper, and it's just so fucking important. We're going from like only one way to play the early game to multiple ways, because it changes how the teams have to think about you, and it really changes jungle pathing, and it really changes like, hey, we have to actually care about top side. We can't just let it be.
Well, one thing that I think has been so weird is that since Solos came in, Power of Evil's been playing like much worse. Much worse, which is so random to me. You know, I think that part of it could be communication, because the way that Power of Evil got shit on by Golden Glue was the TP top, right? He TP'd on that wave top, and Golden Glue got like a big CS lead from it, and then Golden Glue was just ahead for the rest of the game, so he wasn't like staying in lane and being able to like be dominant. And I feel like that's how Power of Evil wins. It's like he's the type of player where he's kind of like Froggen in that sense, where he wins through laning. Like he'll be stronger than you in lane, and then he'll carry that advantage throughout the game. He's not like somebody who I think is like a super good roamer inherently, but Power of Evil I think has definitely been slumping in the last couple weeks. Like he hasn't been as good as he was before. Like before, I thought he was the second best mid laner in the league by far. Like it was just like number one was Niski, number two was Power of Evil, and then like there was a conversation between like
Bjerg,
Jensen and Jensen, Bjergsen, and Jizuke. That was like your next like pool of champion, but it was like you couldn't put any of them above Power of Evil. But now I think Power of Evil I would put below Jizuke and below Bjergsen.
And this only happened when Solo came on for you?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like, coincidental. It's coincidental. It's not.
Well, I don't necessarily think it can only be coincidental, because like, how do you think he's TPing top? How do you like? You don't think that he's being called to TP top?
The Solo's calling for it.
Yeah, I think there could be communication that is like creating like him trying to like play a different way than he was playing before.
I buy that, but I thought you were gonna go down the line of Solo's toxic because the Power of Evil's playing worse. So,
no.
Okay, I'll buy into that communication thing where Solo's actually making calls, where Viper wasn't the one making calls, and Viper's like he's like the one that's like forcibly TPing into team fights and getting himself fucked, where Solo's asking for a resource.
Yeah, so I think that could be a difference, but I'm not. Obviously, that's just speculation.
All right, well. There you go. So a little bit of fly quest there, and how they're going to proceed through the playoffs, as well as Golden Guardians. I wanted to go straight into our jungle tier list, but I thought
we got to talk about one last team.
Well, all right.
You know what team it has to be, right?
Oh, Immortals.
We got to fucking talk about Immortals. Fuck that team. I've been flaming that team all fucking season. Thank fucking God, man.
Did you receive my note? For the Doc Daniel.
Yeah.
Immortals, like, Dom is going to want to flame them.
Go ahead, Dom. I'm loading it up now.
All right, yeah. Put it on the screen. It's my time. I'm so excited. Holy shit. Fuck this team.
We'll use this logo.
This is the most uninspiring team I've seen. Like, this team, I swear to God, like, this is the reason why I was shitting on them so hard. Like, just realistically speaking, the problem with them is that they won so many games by the other team doing bad, but they were the least proactive team in the league, right? Like even worse than CLG in terms of proactivity. Like CLG would like do random shit and then Wiggly would just int the game, but Immortals just does nothing and hopes the other team like chokes, right? Like think about the games versus TL where they're just like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Brox is just invading with only blue buff on Lee Sin and just killing himself. The two games were CLG where they went to like 230 minutes into the fucking game, and then somehow they end up winning because CLG gives them everything or opens mid. You think about like the games that they had into TSM where they were like 80-minute games. Like this team was so unimpressive to fucking watch. Like I just couldn't stand watching this team. And I kept on saying, like, even when they're 5-2, right? Like when we had the show and they were doing super well, you know, everyone was calling me a fucking IMT hater. People think I'm jealous of Smithy, whatever. I just said that this team wasn't going to make fucking playoffs because I just didn't see the fire in them. And I'm so happy they didn't make playoffs because at least the other teams, I can see them winning, you know? Like Golden Guardians, I can see them popping off. I can see them just like PMAing the shit out of playoffs randomly and like getting like, you know, deep in it. Like maybe getting like a third or a fourth. I mean, maybe they could outperform, like if TSM plays bad or, you know, FlyQuest plays bad, I can see Golden Guardians actually doing something. Whereas like IMT, it's like, what is their fucking win condition? They have a bunch of players that are like mediocre in their positions, and
Apollo's not bad. I know I had him second, and that was way off.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Ezreal, it was actually not bad. So I think
his item build was atrocious that game, though.
Soaz surprised me this split. Like Soaz surprised me as I thought he was way past his prime, and he's garbage, and he wasn't. He wasn't garbage. So maybe you're right in saying like you have a bunch of guys that were like, you know, no hard carry, but that's what Apollo I think came in to do, and I think Soaz surprised me on how good he was.
I thought Soaz played like okay. I think that probably over the course of the split, he was probably the best performing player, but he had like a bunch of like off games too, like the Camille game into Someday. Someday dicked him.
Yeah.
So Someday solo killed him 3 times with Soaz getting like the counter pick, you know. So I don't know. I feel like he's just a very smart player still, but I think his mechanics are like definitely not the best anymore. Like I don't think he's like somebody who's just gonna pull out like random picks like he did before. Like he used to be kind of like Broken Blade, where he would just pick out completely random picks that no one would play, like kha'zix top and things, and like that's like I guess the equivalent of like Broken Blade Kiana nowadays. And he'd be able to like win through just like, you know, out mechanicking people and just knowing matchups that other people didn't. Whereas like right now, I feel like he's just he's like a tank player that maybe can play some counter picks and some situational like team fighters and things like that. But I mean, he did have good games. I think he was like the main reason that IMT got any wins at all. And I think IMT did overperform expectations, right? Like 8th place is an overperformance for this team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I had them 9th. I think you guys had them
like
9th.
9th or 10th, right?
Yeah, their expectation was 9th or 10th. They got 8th. Like they get like a B.
There were times where Immortals didn't realize who they were and they drafted like so much early game comps. I remember like they had a game where they played LeBlanc Camille. I'm like, what the fuck? Like you realize you have Ica Soaz, right? Why the fuck are you playing LeBlanc Camille? Most of the time they knew exactly who they were. Like the team I would love to compare Immortals to is Dignitas. I really don't want to like shit on Dignitas coaching staff. I love Dinkard. I love Invert. But they didn't realize what team they had until like the last 4 or 5 games. Like the identity they ended up with, where they're leaning a lot more on Froggen and Johnson. Like Froggen's going back to playing Ori, Victor. Johnson's playing Aphelios. Like they just look so much fucking better as a team. And Huni stopped playing like these bullshit carries. Like if they did what Immortals did, Dignitas makes playoffs. So I want to credit Immortals for realizing exactly what team they had and drafting for the team they had and picking up wins. Because we talked about them picking up bullshit wins. Like a lot of NA teams don't pick up the wins that Immortals did. Like they put themselves in a position where they can actually do that.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is the same thing that we've harped on the whole time. They have 0 firepower on this team. Who is their star player?
Apollo is the star player. That is their star player.
So like
that
that's
is their
where
best
like
mechanical player.
we can call like Apollo like a good player. He can carry, he can put out damage, but I can't go that far and say Apollo's their star player. He has to
he's the star player in the context of their team, but he is not a star player.
That's a role player. Yeah.
He is a role player, right?
There's a whole saying that you say you cannot make a number 2 receiver a number 1 receiver. You can't do that. And I think that's what Apollo is. He's a sturdy guy that if you need that secondary carry, he can do that, but he's not one to be played around as please make us a play and get us out of this shit position that we fucked up and got us here. And like as a star player, this is what you need to do. Like that's
you need like a young beast on that team. Like I would like the teams better, honestly. Like, you know, maybe if Ryoma and fucking Ica role swapped or like a team swapped, like I feel like Ryoma is somebody who's like young and has promise and you could like have him into a bunch of games, but like maybe you just pull out like he has like at least the potential to like mechanically pop off. I feel like IMT just has no like firepower at all, you know? And like Ryoma's problem is that he's like super hit or miss most of the time, but at least he can hit. Whereas like you got no hitters on this team. Like this is just you need to get like some young mechanical talent. Like I would like to see almost anyone.
Cat evolved.
Yeah, honestly, I think that would be a better look. Yeah, let Jack play. Why not?
Even on Immortals, and I said it earlier, Insanity is their Academy sub. I think he would be pretty good too. He was tearing it up over at TL for I think 2 seasons before TL was like, yeah, we're actually gonna just buy Jensen. Sorry, dude.
I kind of also like a little bit like what we did for FlyQuest. Dude, Dig was so disappointing. Like it's just like, oh my god, you realize what you had like at the very fucking last second, and like you start like. All those games you had Huni on carries, like all those games where Froggen was playing Anivia Ziggs, like why couldn't they be Victor Ori games? Why couldn't they be Ornn Mordekaiser games? Like why did you guys have to fucking do that? Like you had the fucking chance to make it.
I don't know about Huni's Mordekaiser. That's all. Like I don't know. That Mordekaiser was rough.
Like I'd rather him be on more than any of the other fucking shit. More than Ornn. Just
really?
Fucking,
I would give him Aatrox Renekton. I think that they really underprioritized Aatrox. I didn't think his Aatrox was that bad when he played it. Like sure,
he probably just fucking hates playing Aatrox. It's
good.
Not a Huni.
I don't give a fuck what he likes. He's like literally. This is how it works, bro. If he wants to play different champions, he has to improve to the point where it's worth putting him on the different champions. If he's gonna fucking suck regardless, if you're playing like a dog, you get dog champs. That's what it is.
You play like a dog get dog champ.
Coach Dom coming through, whipping these NA boys to shape, even if they're from Korea. I like it.
Dude, the Acadian versus Grig difference is also fucking like night and day.
Acadian's been really good.
Like, oh my fucking god, what the fuck was this guy doing in Academy?
We've been saying it the whole split. We literally were saying this like week 1, week 2. Like, why did Grig get so many games? It just makes no sense.
They had everything that they could do to make playoffs. Like, they literally had all these fucking pieces.
What I don't understand is, like, how many times does Acadian have to outperform? Like, okay, when Acadian and Grig were both on Echo Fox, Acadian, like, outperformed him, was a starter. When they both went to TSM, Acadian outperformed him, was a starter. He's on Dig, Acadian's outperformed him, he's a starter. They've literally competed for the same
Grig must
job.
be like a fucking god tier talker. I've never talked to Grig, and he doesn't look like much of a talker, but the way he talks to you, he must fucking mind control you.
I just don't understand, like, how many times, like, are we going to go to another fucking season? It's like, all right, season 11, it's like Acadian is on the bench and Grig is starting again. It's like, why? I don't get it.
Actually, it's so much far before, and now that Acadian is, like, starting, and Acadian's better than Grig, Acadian did not used to be the best teammate, and he did not used to be, like, the most positive person in, like, a team environment. And I'm sure Grig was, like, the opposite, where Grig doesn't cause any problems. I have to imagine Acadian's much better about it now, but that was probably the thing before where, yeah, Acadian might be the better player, but Grig is easier to work with. But now Acadian is the better player, and I'm sure he's not a problem to work with either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think he was like, him and Johnson were the best 2 members of this team, for sure.
All right, well.
They're the 2 least paid too.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on Immortals and Dig. The 2
That's
teams
disgusting.
crashed out. We're not going to spend time on CLG because we'll have a whole...
Nah, that's just depressing. Just bench Wiggly and call it a day.
We'll have a whole offseason to do that. Let's take a peek at something that I wanted to pull up real quick before we move into our jungler tier list was our preseason tier list, because we referenced it about 2 or 3 times today. And I thought it was
Daniel coming in with the Dignitas pick.
I just thought it was interesting.
You just want to talk about the Dignitas pick.
Just wanted to check.
This wasn't on the itinerary. You just want to talk about the Dignitas pick.
Too bad, man. I guess that's why I'm controlling this. All right, let's take a quick peek at this. The stream's a little scuffed, but whatever. We all got Team Liquid very wrong. We all got Golden Guardians wrong as well. I guess I got it the least wrong out of everybody. We got FlyQuest wrong, and Immortals was exactly right. Yeah, Immortals was out. EG was, I guess I was closest with EG. Who was, we were middling with Dig. I think I was the only one that had Dig all the way out. But
damn, I was so off on CLG, but I remember like this conversation we had. I should have been able to put TL lower. Like I really thought they weren't going to do that well, but just due to the TL name, it felt so wrong.
I think you had to put
not
TL number 1.
put TL number 1. There was no
but
way.
Like my mindset was there would be championship fatigue. There would be like problems in terms of missing Xmithy. Like these were things I said, but just due to it being TL, like you guys said, I had to put TL number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think TL just had to go like, how can you go into the split and it's like you've literally seen and like also you have to consider that C9 like players massively overperformed. Like you didn't think that like Blabber was kind of like, my hot take was that Blabber was going to be the best jungler in the league, right? Like that's a hot take that was not supposed to happen, right? Players like Sven Skaren, players like Xmithy players like Broxer were just supposed to be better than Blabber because he's a rookie, right? Essentially. So
CLG crashed and burned.
Yep. I think TL and CLG both underperformed. C9 overperformed. I thought EG and 100 Thieves would be playoff teams. I just didn't think they would be as high up as they would be.
I think EG and 100 Thieves both did a really fucking good job of identifying the pieces they have and like playing the way they should.
Dig ended up being 7th.
EG 100 who's like the weird one for me. I think Dig could have been. Dig definitely.
CLG was.
I don't feel bad about Dig at 6th. I think Dig really could have finished 6th.
I don't think that's bad either. I think both of you guys would Dig that high, and me having Dig worst. I think that's very close. And also, if you just take TL and just drop everyone down and then move everybody up, and then count everyone's like playoff spots, everyone's relatively close. I think. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we got what? We all got 4 out of 6 for playoffs.
I got 1, 2, 3. Oh my god, I think I got 3 because I put Dig in and I also had CLG up there.
Yeah, I had 4. TSM,
CLG,
C9, EG, 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it just goes to show. I just thought it was interesting. It just goes to show it's always difficult doing preseason tier lists and trying to project, especially when
you can't expect massive fall offs.
Like TL.
Yeah, you can't expect massive fall offs in skill. You can't be like, oh, this team has been the best team in NA for 4 splits. They kept the whole roster, and now they're just the 9th place team. Like, imagine how bad of an analyst you would have to be to put TL 9th going into the season. Like, saying that they're going to get 9th place.
Or even CLG outside of a playoff spot. Like
even putting TL at 2 would have been crazy. Putting TL at 2 would have been crazy, but imagine putting TL at 9th. Like, you would have just been so wrong about, like, how you view the game. Like, you can never make predictions like that.
You would have to make predictions that, like, Broxa would be a disaster fit and, like, TL would have internal problems. I think
even if you predicted that, how could you say that they're going to be worse than IMT?
Yeah, you probably have them like 5 or 6 at worst.
Yeah, like if you're a fucking insane psychopath TL hater, you have them at like 5 or 6th.
No.
5th or 6th.
All right. Well, that was our preseason tier list. Let's head to our jungle tier list. And so last week, Loco had some really mean words for me, just saying I copy the list and I.
You literally asked me pre-show how you should rank a certain player.
Yeah, at the bottom. At the bottom of the list, Loco. It was just a quick check. But then this week, yours and I's actually.
I like the way you're talking, Digon. It might be time to replace you, bro. That's all I'm saying, bro. It might be irreplaceable. Like,
oh yeah, that's what it is.
I just want you to know your role, motherfucker. All right.
And so, I was asking like, is Wiggly really 10? And you're like, yes, he's absolute shit. And I was like, yeah, you're right. All right, my bad. But in this list, the biggest difference here to kick things off is Dom very high on Closer. And,
wow, Closer over Sven.
And Acadian as well. Acadian peeking up into 5th there.
You guys have Meteos 3rd?
Yes.
How? He's had so many bad games this
season. It's
recency bias there for sure, I think.
But okay, well, we can talk about Meteos in a bit. Why is Closer 2 over Sven?
Over Svenskeren? Because I think over the course of the split, he's played better. Like, just over the course of the split. The entire split, right? So Svenskeren has been recently playing better than Closer in the last couple weeks, but even this last week, right? He hard into the game versus C9. Like, he really fucked that one up. And then he entered in this in the top 2v2. He killed himself versus 100 Thieves in the final game. I think that Svenskeren I think that Jizuke has really been carrying EG. I think Jizuke has been really fucking good recently. I think Kumo's improved. He was like, I think one of the worst top laners in the split, and now I think he's like a middle of the pack top laner. I think Bang has been playing pretty well. I think Svenskeren has been like generally okay, but I think he had a bunch of terrible games at the beginning of the split. And I'm taking, like, when I do my tier list, I'm doing over the course of the entire split. That's how I rank them.
Oh man, it was just hard to have Meteos lower because they're winning, right? And sure, they're winning off of Sunday Cody, but Meteos is still the 3rd best. I guess his pathing's bad. Now that I give it thought, what would I even change? I don't know if I could put Acadian that high, considering he
like maybe I could put Meteos over Dardoch, but I feel like I don't know. It just never feels like Meteos' ganks are like really like changing the game.
Meteos isn't losing the game though. It was really hard for me to put Dardoch and Closer high because they're like actively losing the games for their team.
Yep.
Sure, they're winning them the games or they're getting them ahead, but you have to factor in what they're doing later. Like Dardoch and Closer they are fucking over their team so much. It doesn't matter how much ahead they get them when you fuck over your team that much, especially Dardoch.
Yeah, I don't know how you can put. I think that Dardoch has been a way bigger offender than Closer of that. And I also think that Closer's had better early games than Dardoch. So I'm surprised you put Dardoch over Closer. Because I feel like they have the same problem, but I think that Closer has been way better in the early game. Like, Closer's pathing is really godlike. I think that him and Blabber are by far the best two. Like, I value pathing super high, obviously. But I think that their pathing is really insane. And even like the game that we saw, who do we see? We saw a Closer play. Jarvan, was it into Acadian's Pantheon? Yeah, it was into Acadian's Pantheon, I'm pretty sure.
He's had Giga Smurf pathing. Like, there's also the game versus Meteos where he like 3-buffed him.
Yeah.
But I guess it should be Closer above Dardoch in that case. You're right, because Closer just gets more done early game and they're both in later on.
Yeah, they both in later on. I think that it's like it's a very fine line between like inting and like sacrificing for the team. So I kind of understand it. And also I guess that just personally like how I view the game, you know, I'm more like willing to like give my life for like good fights and shit like that. I just think that Closer and Dark need to like pull back a little bit on it. I think that Meteos just had so many bad games that I remember. Like that Lee Sin game, I remember it was just fucking awful. The Jarvan EQ versus CLG, where they ended up winning that game anyway, but he like flash EQ'd under the turret on Crown Zanyas when Crown was playing Lucian.
Yeah.
He fucking sprinted it there. He had all the Gragas games in the beginning where he was just getting 3 buffed like every time. Remember the game of Meteos versus Closer at the beginning of the split, first game of the split, where he literally got every camp taken?
Yeah, 3 camped. Yeah.
No, he had like it was like 4 buffed and he was getting like every camp taken. It was just crazy. So I don't know. I've been pretty low on Meteos to split. I think that he's had probably one of the worst splits I've seen.
I think for me, you're right. It is recency bias because I remember those games from Closer, but at the beginning of the split, but really not quite the same pop-off moments. His pathing, and that's why you're the expert and the jungle expert, I think. You can notice that more than me, where I'm just kind of like taking an overview of the game and how he impacts like more of team fights. It fell off a little bit harder. And also something else that you noted is how you play the game. You're more than willing to die for the team, play a little bit more aggressive. I think when I look at the game, I like someone that is going to be a little bit less of a negative detractor, like what Loco was saying, which is why I have the Closer Dardoch kind of mixture there. I do consider that Closer did make more plays for the team, more positive, proactive plays than negative, proactive plays, unlike Dardoch, where he, sometimes just has the Lee Syndrome type mentality and goes in and just ints when there was no need to. And that's why I think I value that more. And if I'm thinking along that factor, I'd probably raise Santorin, maybe over Meteos, but that's why I have those kind of players above the Closer Acadian Dardoch types. And actually, probably why I have Xmithie over Broxa and Wiggly, other than Wiggly being terrible. But like I was thinking, Broxa.
I think the bottom of the list has to be Xmithie 8, Broxa 9, Wiggly 10th. Which hey, by the way, the hot take wasn't looking good early when I said Xmithie was going to be dog shit. 8th place is pretty fucking dog shit. When last year we had him at what, number 1, number 2. I think in the last time I did a tier list with him, he was at the complete top of it.
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about that when we're making this list. I was like, is there any way we could justify having Xmithie higher on this list so that Dom's hot take isn't right? Because I was really
hot take. What, you trying to fucking sabotage my hot take? What the fuck?
I was like, fuck, there's no way.
Dude, most of the hot takes we had were pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Except for the Crown one. Loco, I don't know what you're thinking about that one.
The year of Crown, baby.
No one could have predicted Crown being that bad. I have to agree with Dom regarding the Xmithie being 7. I should have put Acadian a little bit higher. It's just so fucking hard, dude. Trying to conceptualize Dignitas as a team. I gave so much credit to.
You don't think Acadian's been good since he came in?
He's been good. His
I think he's been good.
Yeah.
I had a rough time putting him at 5. I almost put him at like 4 or like 3. Like I really wanted to put him up there. I think he's been very good.
But when I also think Immortals, I'm like, who the fuck does the credit go to? It goes to Apollo, very like a little bit to Hakuo,
a little bit to Xmithie.
Yeah, a little bit to Xmithie. Damn. Tier lists are always so fucking hard for me because like I get really strong ideas about a certain player and it's really hard for me to budge. Like when I just argue with myself.
I don't know. I just like the way Acadian plays, to be honest. Like I think he's very proactive. Like he makes like a lot of he makes shit happen early. I like just think about like his first Lee Sin game. That was an absolute pop off, even though they fucking lost. His Pantheon games I think have all been very good. He played an Olaf game and a really hard Olaf game to play. And I was actually talking about the game with Niski. Niski was on my co-stream for Dignitas versus Immortals. And he made the right decision to like go Cinderhulk in that game. And I thought he played the game out to the best of his abilities. I think the pick was awful and he like still made it work. So yeah, I mean, I could have maybe even played Acadian 4th. It's just like, I think Santorin's been generally good as well. And Santorin's been playing the whole split. And I think that Santorin like was one of the better players on FlyQuest, right? It was like Power of Evil, Ignar, and Santorin were like the best 3 players on that team. So I didn't want to like, it wasn't that I didn't want to put Acadian high. It was that I didn't want to put Santorin lower than 4. That's how I felt going into it.
I do like when we do this. It is, we throw it out there. Dom puts his big hitters in there. Loco defends his position quickly and then slowly thinks about it and is willing to make compromises. I'm not saying you're wrong or backtracking, but you're willing to make compromises. Dom regularly compromises on his list.
I don't know. Tier lists are not my strength.
I hate doing jungle tier lists because I'm like, man, both of you guys see the game like so much better than me in that.
Jungle and support I think are the hardest ones because that's the roles where you're so dependent on other people and people on your team.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to like individually pick out someone and be like, are you doing better than the other person?
I think I really like jungle tier list because I just see the game as like an LCS.
You're a
jungler.
jungler.
Yeah, I'm just a jungler, right? So like that's like what I'm like seeing the game through. Like when I do my co-streams, I normally do my co-streams in the early game through the eyes of like the jungler and like what he's going to be doing in the game. Because I just feel like that's like where all the action happens early for the most part. Like when solo kills happen and stuff like that, like it's just like, oh, cool, that shit happened. But it doesn't feel as like reliable or I like setups and stuff like that. I think the only thing when I look at my tier list that I would have changed is maybe put Meteos above Dardoch. Because I think Dardoch has just been like such an inter lately.
Dude, I don't think Dardoch stays on TSM. They're making
into summer or what?
Yeah, into summer. Like they're just putting him on a role that he's not happy with, and I'm sure they're not happy with him.
I mean, you do have a pretty decent
relationship.
You do have a pretty decent backup there, which is I think Spica, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Spica is pretty solid.
And they love Spica. Peter loves Spica.
Yeah, I like Spica too. I think Spica is like a player that can be great. He strikes me like if Spica was one of the best junglers in LCS, like in the next couple of years, I'd be completely like okay with that. Like I can see that happening. It's not. There's certain players where I just don't have like the confidence. I'm like I don't like when I look at a player like Froggus, for example. I'm like I can't see him ever be a good LCS jungler. But Spica, I can see like I think he has all the tools to be a good LCS jungler. It's just like putting all the pieces together. It's kind of like I have confidence in like some players. Like I have confidence in Surenfire to eventually be a good player too. But certain players like I can never see Mike Young be a good LCS player. Never.
But he was.
Yeah, but I can never see it happening again.
For like a flash.
And even like when he was a good player, it was really masked by the fact that he was on the 10th place team. So if you look at how many wins they actually had, very few. They actually were almost never winning, but he like looked good on a bad team because he was like power farming with Nidalee.
Yeah, and playing Lee Sin. He was good on 2 champions, and he got away with on 2 champions.
I love your Nidalee Sin. That's what he looked up to Rush for. We saw it in the fucking tweet.
Let's move on. Let's leave Mike Young.
Apologize for taking his job.
Anything else
we'll
here?
We'll still say up to you.
Anything else here for the jungle tier list from you guys?
I don't know. I think that it's kind of hard to judge players like Svenskeren when the team's functioning so well compared to like players like Acadian when the team is doing so poorly.
Yeah.
Like I think that there could be a reasonable argument. Like I would not be surprised if you swapped like Sven and Acadian if Acadian played even better than Svenskeren somehow with EG. I just think that like that's like just how all tier lists work is you're kind of going to be stuck to like how good your team is. So like a player like Broxa might not be as bad as like the 9th best jungler in the league, but he's on the 9th best team and he's consistently losing to all these other players. So it's really hard to put him high.
That's fair. All right. Well, again, as always, every week, I'll post it up on Twitter. Let us know what you think about the tier list. This time, no edits are needed. Loco's not going to ask for an edit on his tier list. And those of you that did, that was awesome. Keep sending it. We have one more tier list to do. I think we have top laners. Do we have top? Right? Did we not?
I think didn't we do top laner? Or maybe we did. No, we did top laners, right?
I don't think we did.
Someday, we had Broken Blade second, Someday third.
Licorice first. Yeah, I remember
Licorice
making
first.
Licorice first.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, sorry. It was week 5. We skipped a week.
Do we have any left? Do we have?
No, we did them all.
We did everything.
Okay.
So we did all the tier lists. I'll repost them all later on. That the ones that we have.
We should do a bracket. What is it? We should do bracket for
playoff predictions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do a playoff prediction bracket.
Wait, when is playoffs? Is there a week before playoffs?
It should be. Is it directly this Saturday?
It's this week. It's this week.
They probably are like screwing the schedule anyways because of.
Well, it's weird because if we're gonna, so I guess next week we should do the show on Monday, because the way that the bracket works is it's like there's Saturday, Sunday, 4 or 5. That's the A1 and A2, so that's the winners, and then on Tuesday, Wednesday is the losers brackets already. So it's kind of a weird schedule. So it's like. Yeah, it's Saturday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's Saturday, Sunday, and then the next Saturday, Sunday. So there's like 2 sets.
Do you guys want to do that Monday, Thursday?
Thursday,
we do show Monday, Thursday. We do both.
Yeah, we can do both. I'm fine with that. Two
Yeah,
shows, 2 face checks next week. I'm down.
Monday, Thursday. Let's do that.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds dank.
All right, guys. Other than that, any last notions before we move on out? Any predictions on our matches?
What is it? Oh, I guess we can do match predictions really quickly.
Yeah.
It's FlyQuest EG and 100 Deep C9.
Okay.
I think we both are gonna have the same.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's
It
gonna
has
be
to be
pretty easy.
C9 EG.
Yeah.
Has to be C9 EG.
The only one like you could kind of make an argument for is like FlyQuest over EG. I don't think 100 Deep over C9 is like possible even, or in maybe it's possible in 2020. This year
I don't
it's
know.
fucking nuts.
With how they're playing recently, I just feel like EG has been way better than FlyQuest. And
yeah, definitely
EG is
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think EG is like very solidly the second best team. Like I didn't even think they had a good game versus 100 Thieves, and they still beat them handedly. You know, so
All right. Well, there you go. There's the predictions from the pros. Other than that, we'll catch you for double episodes next week. I'm going to Twitch Rivals right now, so head on over to see some of North America's best streamers to meme. It'll be me, Crumbs, and Wavepunk doing that. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next week.
all right,
Crumbs?
see you guys. No, who the fuck is Wavepunk? What the fuck?
Wavepunk is the host of Twitch Rivals. He and I host.
Wavepunk.
He's a Rocket League caster. All right, guys. We'll catch you.